And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger and roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside at speed off. Bring in SC off. Off. It's orange!
Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane to be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. Keep red. We don't need any more of these.
We are entering the business end of the flight preparation for the second Starship flight. Welcome to what might be Booster 9 undergoing some spin prime / engine testing today. My name is Adrian Ball, I'm a commentator for NSF, and we are live from Boca Chica, as always, as we tend to do, to bring you live commentary about today's test. And with me, I mean, I'm not alone today, starting with, you know him, you love him, and his Starship knowledge, Alejandro Alcantarilla Romera. Alex, how you doing?
Wait, they love him? They love me? What? No. That's
Just
no.
go with it.
I'm not really that good. Come on. Yeah, I'm around. I'm here, looking at all the vents as always.
And we're glad you do. And also with us here is Trevor Zeshnik. Trevor, how you doing?
You know, it's early, but super exciting that we're getting to some large-scale engine testing at Starbase again, so I'm doing great.
And we also have in the back channel making sure that everything looks nice, looks fantastic, and we get the proper views, Patrick Cahoon. Thank you for being with us, Patrick. And we also had Jack earlier already deploying all the assets in the field, making sure we get nice viewed. And I think we can quickly check in with Jack. Jack, how is your status?
Hi, status good. It was wild being out there this morning. The road, like the road next to the launch site along Highway 4, where there's usually a whole bunch of employee cars, was already cleared out as of like 5 a.m. So SpaceX was wasting absolutely no time this morning getting into testing. So hopefully we see some spinning and some priming and who knows what else today. I think they even did a FireX test while we were setting up the camera that you're looking at right now. So pretty nifty.
Yep, they absolutely did. And of course, we will explain everything here. What is going on here? What is a spin prime test? How does it work? And everything. Just stay with us for today. And if you have any more questions besides what we are already explaining, make sure to tag at NASASpaceflight in chat. And we have a handy tool that then allows us to answer your questions here. But let's start
spin
with
me right prime, baby, like a booster, baby.
Copyright.
if Jack manages to trigger a copyright strike with that singing, I'm impressed. That's all I say. Trevor, do you want to give us a quick summary? What are we expecting today? What's happening in Boca Chica?
Yeah, so what we're expecting to happen today is a 33 engine, or a large number of engine spin prime test. So what this means is that SpaceX will flow a little bit of liquid oxygen through the liquid oxygen pre-burner turbo pumps on each Raptor engine. So what this does is it's just testing out the plumbing on the vehicle, testing out the that all of the turbo machinery is installed correctly and working. So we'll just see a little bit of venting basically from the bottom of the booster. And yeah, so no fire is expected today. And then as part of this, I'll quickly mention that, as Jack was saying earlier today, the FireX system was tested, which is a big deal because for those of you who remember when Booster 7 first attempted this test, there was a buildup of CH4 under the vehicle, which then was ignited, causing a detonation. But the FireX system was then installed to help prevent that. So That's what we're expecting today, and we'll see what we get. SpaceX could always change their plans.
We'll see what will happen today. We have certainly seen surprise tests before, and these spin primes tests tend to be more exciting than initially anticipated. So, Alex, where are we in the flow right now? What are we? What was expected to happen next? Where are we in the countdown? Probably.
Yeah, so we basically have been seeing the tank farm getting chilled down and everything, all of the sort of like the pre-chill of the of the tank farm. Now we're waiting for that OLM vent to start. That is the start of the chill down of the lines going up to the OLM, to the orbital launch mount. And once that OLM vent stops, that's sort of the indication that we have for propellant load start. Mostly for liquid oxygen load, like more specifically, it's for that. But usually the liquid oxygen and liquid methane load are more or less around the same time. So yeah, it's very much a confirmation of propellant load has begun. And then we'll see frost and everything. So yeah, we're right now, right after that pre-chill has started on the tank farm and right before that OLM vent starting. So yeah, a little bit of time to go, but still, it's nice to hang out here and see all of the views. We were able to see before that moon above the launch tower. That was nice.
There we go. Let's hit some question here, and let's start with a question that is coming up here a lot. Why do we think this might be a spin prime today? Also asked by James Robert here. So who wants to take this? Why do we think this might be a spin prime?
I can take that if you want. So we know that they're doing some engine testing based on road closures and just based off of SpaceX's usual test campaign. But we think it's a spin prime and not a static fire test because one, SpaceX generally likes to complete spin primes ahead of any static fire test, and then two, there is no overpressure notice. So SpaceX is required to have those for static fire tests. So for those reasons, we think it's going to be a spin prime today.
There we go. Of course, as we said before, it's SpaceX. There could always be changes in the flow. There could always be something that does come up that changes what they want to do today. So, we'll see how this develops over the day, and we are here for watching. And as of now, there's not been propellant loading going on, so we might be in for a bit of a ride here. But we love these marathon streams, right? I heard some complaints we're doing too short streams these days, so we're going live a bit earlier today. So enjoy that.
Yeah, grab a stack.
I wanna
Grab your full stack plushie, give it a hug for luck. Maybe a tasty drink if it's early in the morning for you, wherever you are around the world. Maybe some coffee. Just settle in. It's going to be a nice day of testing here.
Yeah, let's really hope it's gonna be. I really like these longer streams. And also, this is not a merch plug. I just want to ask because I'm curious as the person who is partially in charge of the store. Is anybody in chat who already has their full stack plushie? Because I want to see if somebody has. That would be cool. Just pointing that out now. And
I saw one for the first time the other day at Mary's because Mary got hers, and I gotta say, I'm a fan. It's pretty great. I was joking, like, we need this is gonna make you sweat. I'm sorry. We need a plushie tower and a plushie mount just to go along with everything else. Just plushie everything.
This will not be the last NSF plushie. I can promise you all that.
It's a big one.
It's big. Let me hit some questions here. This is more asking about if this is static fire. Will they use the water deluge? But I will still ask this regarding today's test. Let's start with Alex here. Do you think they would use the full water deluge for spin prime, or will they just use the fire X?
I'm not fully sure. Like I can see both sides here. Like I can see them doing the deluge test as in, they're testing the whole countdown sequence. So they'll do, fire X and deluge because they're going to be using both. So like I can understand that. I can also think that since they don't need it for the spin prime, they might just not use it. Like I can see both sides here. Now, I could also see a third option, which will be like do the spin prime without any of those and then test it independently. Because we've seen that on other testing where they've done like some kind of engine test, and then apparently like a few minutes later they've done like a FireX test or something like that. Like we've seen that, so why not? It's a SpaceX after all. It wouldn't make sense, so that will be on brand for them.
I will say, yesterday evening, it seemed as if they were doing some, I don't know if it was preparations or what on the deluge system, but Sean and I rushed out there in hopes of catching a deluge test because the pad alarm was going off and there was loud venting from the deluge farm, but nothing happened other than I could see an occasional burst of venting from the area around the deluge plate. So, all that is to say, if we did see a deluge test today, either during the spin prime or after or before, it would not shock me, given that it seemed like yesterday was not a test of it after all, but was more preparing it to be tested today. That's just me completely guessing here. And the other thing I will say is that we should note that, of course, this being a potential spin prime test, there is no dance floor, which is the platform that is typically suspended beneath the booster. That was removed yesterday. Another data point leading us to believe that this could be engine testing today of some kind. But without that dance floor there, which also just coincidentally happens to be sort of a shield to the Raptor engines, I do wonder, if they would do a deluge test without doing it at the same time as a spin prime, given that there's no barrier between the Raptors and the water. Now, the water doesn't spray really straight up, so I don't think it's an issue either way, but it's just something interesting to point out in terms of all the pieces on the board that we're looking at here. It's like a chessboard. Like, where's the bishop? Where's the queen? So that's what we're looking at.
And Trevor, any additional thoughts on this topic, or everything covered?
I think Alex and Jack did a good job, but I'll just disagree with Alex, and I think they will use water deluge for
there we go.
a spin prime, but we'll see.
Well, you're not disagreeing. I said there are reasons to think like many different options, and I'm not really going for any of them because I don't really have any idea.
I think the term is you chickened out. I think that's the
no.
No, sorry.
I
think it was on yesterday's Raptor side. Alex said that he doesn't think it will be used.
But I also said that I can see both sides, and I even mentioned today a third option, which could be the case as well. I'm not committing to anything because it's silly. I don't know.
Alex,
I want argument mode.
Do you ever commit to anything other than eating wasps?
Oh, come on. But see, we know about that. Oh, you've missed a lot of things.
I will catch up after this.
Yeah.
When you eat figs, you're eating wasps.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
We have entered chaos mode. Anyway, I want to thank some people here because we already got a tremendous amount of support here, and I want to make sure that people are properly thanked here that are supporting us here. And so many people are very happy we're bringing back these longer streams, so we're glad. We're glad you like it. Let's start here with MCG Epsilon VR gifting 1 Red Team membership. Thank you so much. And then we have KK Designs gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Rick Donor donating 5 Red Team memberships. Ryan, 1 Red Team membership. Vanishing Image, 1 Red Team membership. Thank you all so much. Then we have John Dupker, a very common name we hear a lot, with a $5 super chat. Yeah, that's a sweet shot of Luna over the tower. I'm looking at her from Ohio. Glad you enjoyed that as well. And yes, that was a cool shot. Sadly, it was a bit of moved now. It's gone. And we have Jeff Rope with a gifted Red Team membership here. Thank you all a lot for that. And we have Chris Bray here with a $50 super chat. Good morning, everyone. Loving the coverage. Thank you so much, Chris. We will add you to the Hall of Fame list of Chris's that are related or in any way present around NASA spaceflight. It's a very prestigious first name at this point because that was the Pope vent, right? That looked for a moment looked a bit weird because white behind the booster, but I think that's the Pope vent on the methane side. If I see that correctly.
Yep.
And we have Dean Harbold saying, Marathon streams for the win. Thank you for that, for the $20 super chat. And we have Mr. One Wolfie with 20 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much.
Wow.
And Chris W, another Chris, with a 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you a lot, you all. That is really, really helping us. And that's a lot of generous support for the fact that we had just went live 15 minutes ago. So thank you a lot. And we hope to keep you entertained.
Yeah, legit could not do what we do without y'all. So thank you so much. It means the world because we all enjoy what we do, and we get to do it because y'all support what we do. So thanks.
Yes. Let's. There's a question about which caffeine Jack is consuming to wake up. From Dirk. Do you want to address which caffeine do you consume, Jack, to wake up?
Oh, right now I'm just fueled by my usual anger. But no caffeine for me yet. I think I might have some coffee here in a minute.
There we go. Also, for the record, I'm using some Dr. Pepper right now to wake up. And yes, it's 3 p.m. in Germany. That doesn't mean anything. It's still a good time to wake up. Xbar asking, how long is the road closure? Okay, that's actually a funny question because the answer is more ambiguous than you would think. Alex, what's the situation with the closure?
Well, let's see. When they posted it originally, the table was saying 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but it was wrong because the document said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But somehow, hours later, the document disappeared from the website. So, yeah, it's probably still 6 p.m., but they just removed it from some reason. But it's obviously going on right now. There's a closure today, obviously. So, yeah, it's probably up to 6 p.m. But it's funny. It's a funny story.
Yes,
there you go. You can see there the road closure.
It was funny to figuring out when we might go live for this one because there was there was some uncertainty, and it's always fun when there's uncertainty going on. That's actually an interesting question because we talked about this a bit before, but let's hit this one. B9 Ship 25 asking, interesting question name here. I want to ask the question for everyone. Do you know how many engines they are targeting likely for today's spin prime test? Trevor, you started the introduction before, so let's go around the horn and start with you, Trevor. Do you think how many engines we will see today if there's a spin prime?
Yeah, sure. So as usual, we don't have any official word from SpaceX, so we're hoping to do X test today. However, based on previous testing and context clues, it leads me to believe that they're going to target all 33. SpaceX hasn't talked, and Elon hasn't talked about any partial tests at all, and it certainly seems that since they've figured out the FireX system, there is not really that much risk for them trying to do all 33 at once. So I'm going to go on the horn and say my prediction is all 33.
Alex?
For the spin prime?
Yes. How many engines?
Yeah, 33. Let's go all in. Why not? See, for this one, I'm motivated to think 33.
Where's that venting coming from? Is that the Pope stack?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
Which means methane is at least somehow involved in this test, which we know, of course, but it's part of the methane system, right? The Pope stack. That's the methane side of the tank farm.
Right.
If I recall correctly.
I say all engines, by the way. Let's just go for it.
I will say 32 because one abort's close to T0. Is that lame? Can I say that?
Adrian, we want positive vibes here. No engine aborts.
Okay. Then I'm quiet with that. Lenny asking question here.
Don't repeat.
Okay.
I was gonna say, as long as they don't repeat the failure from the first Booster 7 engine test, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let's
Whatever
not go
they do.
kaboom today. No kaboom. I'm strictly against any kabooms today.
Sometimes you can have a small kaboom as a treat.
Yeah, but we don't want a small kaboom as a treat here. We want a good campaign, Jack. We want fast flight, not delayed flight.
Yeah, Jack, whatever you do, just don't say if that was
Stop
methane,
it,
it would
stop
be
it, stop it.
igniting, right?
Stop it. La 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 la, I can't hear you.
We're really bringing the chaos here.
Lenny asking, what are the odds of a static fire today? I will quickly hit this. We have no overpressure notice, which means 0. Or let's say close to 0, because I always like to, 0 always feels very certain with SpaceX. I will say close to 0.
Well, the other thing is I don't really remember, but I feel like, and I could be wrong, so hopefully that's enough hedging. I feel like for the last 30 days, static fire, not just a road closure. I could be wrong though. Either way, no. There has been no overpressure notice delivered, and there have been rare occasions, as Adrian said, where there was a static fire without an overpressure notice. But either way, if they're, it does not seem as if they're going for a static fire today. Let's put it that way.
There's other things as well. We see, for example, the marine notices, like I think it's the MSIB. I don't always remember what it stands for, but I think it is Marine Safety Information Bulletin. I think it is. It's basically an alert to mariners around the place to stay away from the launch site because it's near the beach. So obviously you need to stay away and clear from that as well. And also, for the 33 engine static fire test, they also increased the ceiling of the temporary flight restriction, the TFR, above the launch site. So, those things are way more indicators in that sense for static fires, like big events.
There we go. Yeah, it's basically the TLDR is we like any indication that today would be a static fire, because static fire requires a whole lot of preparation and a whole lot of warning, because it's a much more dangerous test.
Yeah, I also think that we would have had a SpaceX tweet about it, because they've been tweeting a lot about testing in Starbase, which has been awesome. So
I have a question.
Yes.
So we don't think they're going to do a static fire today, but when they do a static fire, do we think they're going to go straight to 33? Do we think they're going to do like 1 engine, 7 engines, like a subset? I say they're going to go straight to 33, but maybe I'm just being hopelessly optimistic.
I think okay, on the record here, and you can laugh all at me in the next 3 weeks. I think, including this test, we are 3 tests away from launch. Because I think they will do a 33 engine spin prime, a 33 engine static fire, a wet dress rehearsal, and fly. I don't think they will do any subscale tests. So, yes, I think they will go directly to static fire. Alex, what do you think?
Directly to static fire, but we're talking about spin prime. You mean like directly to 33?
Yes, like
okay.
first static fire. Will first static fire be 33?
Yeah, to be clear, we don't think, once again, no static fire today. That's not what we're expecting. But when they do a static fire, whenever we get to that point, what do you think?
I mean, I will want it to be taking a little bit slowly, but it's a SpaceX, so yeah, I probably think they're gonna do 33 straight away because it's a SpaceX. Come on, let's be honest.
There we go. Trevor, any other thoughts? Any other opinions?
no, sadly, I agree that they're probably gonna go straight to 33. SpaceX seems to. I mean, they certainly seem to understand the vehicle way more than they did during Booster 7's testing, and they seem to not be wanting to. They just seem to be wanting to get this vehicle off the pad. So I suspect they just go 33.
And I want to point out here, this launch campaign so far is clean. Like, the whole Ship 25 testing, that looked super clean. Also, the booster testing, they just do it, and everything seems very routine to them right now.
Even
which is
deluge
quite
testing.
impressive. Yeah. It's, it's quite impressive. I'm really impressed by what kind of cadence they are currently hitting. And again, I was totally wrong and on the record saying that I don't think there will be a second launch this year after the first one, because I didn't believe. And I made the mistake of not believe.
When did you say there was going to be 5 launches in a year? Was that this year or last year?
Last year.
2022. No, that was 2022. That was in the first NSF.live of 2022 where I was on, where we did some predictions, and I said that there will be 5 launches in 2022, and Michael's instant reaction in the back channel was lol.
Classic Michael.
And basically that was how that went down. That was funny.
But to your point about this being a very clean campaign for Booster 7 or for Booster 9 and Ship 25, I agree. It's pretty wild, and we very often get the question, when do we think launch will be for this pair? And I have repeatedly said late August, acknowledging that that's probably hopelessly optimistic. But part of the reason for me even feeling not completely stupid saying that is just how rapidly and smoothly both of these vehicles have progressed through testing. So hopefully we're not jinxing things today. but yeah, pending a good spin prime and a good static fire, it's like, what's left? Stack the vehicles and do your final checkouts and receive approval for launch and call it a day. I mean, I guess the hot stage ring, that's a pretty big outstanding item, but other than that, I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody would right now tell me this will launch in August or September, I wouldn't call them crazy. Like, we are getting to this phase where we were with the first launch, where it suddenly was there. It feels like the same here, where we went from this kind of lull after the first launch, where we looked at concrete being repaired, and suddenly we are in the middle of a launch campaign. We are right now seeing the first stage being tested. So it's quite impressive. I'm really impressed by how they did this.
Yeah, put it this way, I am going to the next Virgin Galactic flight in New Mexico later this month, and I would say there's a 90 to 95% chance that after that I just turn right back around and come back to Starbase, because it seems like we're that close. Bird?
Bird? Yeah.
It is remarkable how quickly SpaceX bounced back from the first launch attempt.
Yeah, I think I said 6 months, and it's been, 3? So, pretty remarkable, I agree.
Yeah, and now imagine a situation, I'm sorry we are stopping asking questions right now, but I feel like this conversation is interesting to have. Now imagine a reality where the pad is not completely destroyed after a launch, how fast they can be. Like, if Booster 9 lifts off, and the pad is in a good shape, they could put, the next booster on that pad a week later, and they could get into a situation where they test the ships and the boosters simultaneously, and basically have them both on the pad and get ready. They can really be fast here.
We've all sort of been anticipating this happening, and it doesn't feel like it's going to take them a long time in between launches going forward, pending the water deluge plate working and pending no major issues with a pad fallback or something like that. But really, with the Massey test site online, with the production site churning out vehicles, and hopefully with the launch site now being able to be turned around rapidly in between launches, I could very easily see us getting into a 1 a month cadence here with Starship, which, to be honest, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's what's needed. If SpaceX is going to be ready for Artemis 3, if SpaceX is going to finally start deploying the Starlink V2 Maxis, if they're going to start fulfilling their obligations to their customers like Dear Moon and Jared Isaac, this thing needs to start having a very rapid launch cadence. And not only from everything I just said, but also SpaceX's entire methodology is build, test, fly, and then take that data you learn and put it back into the next thing you build, and just completely just do that cycle over and over and over again, iterate rapidly, learn rapidly, build rapidly, and then continue to fly rapidly. And then that is just a virtuous cycle that feeds back into itself. And without a rapid flight rate, that methodology is less effective, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's worth noting that while Booster 9 has been lifted onto the OLM, we've seen both Booster 10 and Ship 25 cryo testing at Massey's, so they have vehicles just kind of lining up. Sorry, 28, yeah, lining up behind, which is very cool to see.
Which is also very cool. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
And 29 is in the high bay, like seemingly receiving the last of its tiles, although that hasn't really been happening in the last week or so. But 29 should be ready to test soon here, pretty soon after 28 is done. 28 might roll back here, any day now. So 28 seems to have completed its testing, and at least its proof testing, and is ready to get its Raptors. 30 is halfway stacked. I think 12 is in the high bay, like halfway stacked. And I think the only reason they haven't been going faster on 12 in particular is because they already have 10 and 11.
Yeah, they have enough boosters.
Which is absolutely wild. Like it's truly astounding how they've it really feels like since the orbital flight they've just flicked a switch and they've just started churning things out, testing things like crazy. And I really do think it's a little bit understated what an asset to them the Massey test site is, because previously all of that testing would have taken place at the launch site, and that would have tied up their ability to do things like test the ship, test the booster, or even just do the repairs and upgrades to the launch site. So all that is to say, SpaceX really firing on all cylinders here, and I think having Massey's is a really big part of that.
I want to point out that was a thing I watch NSF videos sometimes with my parents because I show them what we do at work, and they of course knew I was in Texas a few months ago, and then we came to the last flyover video where we show the new Mega Bay, and I told them, yeah, you see this giant building? When I was in Texas 3 months ago, that wasn't there. That thing wasn't there, and yeah. And that was quite impressive. And yes,
that's the last level.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? If you tell somebody, yeah, that building, that giant 100-meter high building there, yeah, they built that in 3 months. It's just stupid sometimes. Anyway, let me announce something else here, because we have a special treat for you here, for all of our members, and that is the members multi-view. If you are a member of the NSF channel, you can go to the other live streams here, and we have 9 different camera angles here where you can watch this test how you like. So this is just a special treat for our members. If you're a member, go to the live stream section of the channel and you can see these 9 cameras in glorious, the whole stream is in 4K. So enjoy this and have a good time there. And also pad audio apparently. So that's just a quick information for you all that are members. This is now available. So enjoy that. And let's that's an interesting discussion point here, because we think S25 will be moved soon, and the question is where it will be rolled back. So what do we actually think will happen with Ship 25 here? Alex, what do you think will happen with 25 here?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because they've been preparing seemingly to lift Ship 25. They've had like a few back and forths along the week. We were expecting that lift to happen way earlier, like maybe in the weekend, but it didn't happen. They seem to have been still doing work and things like that, but now it definitely seems like it's coming off, because the umbilicals, for example, have been disconnected. So currently, Ship 25 is disconnected from everything. The stand had been going back and forth as well to the stand, like to the suborbital pad B and things like that. And now it's back there. So yeah, we're expecting probably a lift of Ship 25 soon. Whether it'll roll back or not, we don't know really, because it could stay at the pad and just being worked there at the pad, right? Because they're not doing a lot of things here, only testing Booster 9. I know it's a big deal, but it's like maybe a few days off that they cannot work on Ship 25. It's not really a big deal, right? At least to me, myself, I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, I think they probably have enough leeway there to work on it there at the pad as to work with many other things. And yeah, I can also see them rolling it back. Like, again, this is sort of like they're gonna use the deluge or not. I can see both sides in this case, but I'm leaning more of it'll probably stay at the pad, I think, because they don't really have any incentive to bring it back to the production side, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. For the longest time, I mean, for weeks now, it seems like they've been having road closures that would have been indicative of moving 25 back. They moved SPMTs down to the launch site. They're sitting right next to Pad B right now with a ship stand on top of them. So very clearly, they are ready to move Ship 25 somewhere. And for a hot minute there, I was thinking they were going to move Ship 25 back to the rocket garden, do the final work on it, remove the crane attach points, put tiles over those spots, just like they did with Ship 24. Also, to potentially protect it for when they do static fire Booster 9. But I am increasingly thinking that Ship 25 stays at the launch site and the SPMTs are just there so that they can move it over to the chopsticks and have it lifted atop Booster 9. Now, they are still going to need to remove those crane attach points and put tiles over those spots, but I think as of yesterday they had finished working inside the vehicle and had closed up all of the hatches. So, yeah, I'm going to say 25 will stay at the launch site, that's my guess, and 28 will roll back to the rocket garden to get its engines. And I will note that the rocket garden has essentially 2 slots open right now. The slot where SN15 had been, which is just an empty parking space. There's not even a stand there anymore. I think that is the stand that they ended up moving to the launch site for 25. So that is also part of the reason why I thought maybe they would roll 25 back. But between Ship 28 and Ship 25, they have the engine install stand and they have that empty parking space in the rocket garden. So they kind of have 2 slots available, but there's really no reason to take 25 back that I can see, other than if they were worried about protecting it from Booster 9 static fire, which, similar to what we were talking about earlier, with Booster 7, they took things slow, they were very conservative and very careful, and were very incremental. Now, with Booster 9, it feels in a lot of ways, like we were just saying, that they are more familiar with the vehicle and more comfortable with the vehicle. So hopefully that means that they don't need to go through the trouble of rolling 25 back. Hopefully we see a full stack here, like, in the next week or so. Like, static fire, put a hot stage ring on there, put Ship 25 on top, call it a day. I do think that the hot stage test article at Massey's is a big deal right now. Just because we need to know if that passes the test. Because if it does, we're good to go. If it doesn't, question mark?
We're not good. We're not good to go. Like, that's the thing is, they're kinda at least decently committed into hot staging right now, because the QT is modified. So if hot staging doesn't work in this setup, well, they're in a bit of a trouble. They need to at least build something to make the ship taller, or alternatively move the ship QD down again. There is some work done. Like, of course, it's not a delay of 6 months, but it's the way they are setting up right now. So they hope that it would probably delay the whole process by a month or 2 if hot staging the ring doesn't work. I wouldn't be surprised.
Speaking of setting up right now, like, we should probably, after Alex is done saying what he wants to say, remind everybody where we're at, what we're expecting to see, and all that.
I was about to ask that.
Alex, go.
Yeah, on the same vein that we were talking about, because you pointed out then bringing it back, ship 25 to lift it and everything. I remembered that actually the chopsticks are currently in a ship lifting configuration. So what does that mean? The chopsticks have basically a set of pins that go into the ship, like there are like little holes or sockets, whatever you want to call them, that these pins go into and then help raise. Not those, a little bit higher. But yeah, not these ones.
Yeah, these are the stabilizers, right?
Exactly. Yeah, higher. There you go.
There you go.
Those. So these pop out once they're ready to get a ship up. And so there's one on these chopsticks. There's another one on the other arm as well. And this one connects to the ships and then lifted them with those as well with the stabilizers below. So they are out. So they are already prepared to lift a ship. Like the whole thing of this thing is like, why would you put this out if you weren't ready to lift the ship, right? Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's a thing here that they may just go ahead and lift ship 25. Obviously, probably not straight away, as you know, just as they remove it from pad B, but it's very likely that it's going to be within like a few days, as soon as they close off all of the crane lifting points and everything. That's my guess.
I don't think this will happen, but I can sure dream a full stack static fire would be
No.
epic.
No.
I don't think it's going to happen, just to be clear, but a guy can dream.
Yes, you can dream, and it will not happen. I'm going on a record and crash everybody's dream. I've seen so many people wanting this.
Ooh, there we go.
We will. Oh, okay. This is a good time. Hey, Trevor. Wanna summarize what we are seeing right now and what is happening and what is this test? Wanna bring us up?
Yeah, sure. So this is the venting on the OLM, which is our first indicator that they're starting to prepare to load propellants onto the vehicle. I'll let Alex go more in a sec into the exact vents and what everything means, but real quick I'll just go over what we'll expect. So we're going to expect to see a decent amount of liquid oxygen loaded onto the vehicle and possibly a tiny bit of methane, but it may not go above the bulkhead line, so we may not have any visible frost, but we'll have to see. And then once those are fully loaded on the vehicle, we will start seeing some chill down vents at the engines, and then eventually we will see the liquid oxygen spun through hopefully all 33 engines, along with the fire X system and possibly water deluge, and then the engines will spool up for around a second. We'll see some very large cloud of vent under the OLM from the engines, and then hopefully we will have a spin prime tested booster. So Alex, do you want to talk more about the vents that we'll see?
Yeah, so we started the stream sort of talking about what the status was at the moment. We were waiting on that OLM vent that we're seeing right now. That OLM vent, as you mentioned, it is to chill down and purge all of the lines that go up to the OLM, to the orbital launch mount. And prior to this, what we were seeing was that chill down of the tank farm, deconditioning of all of those all that ground support equipment GSE. And yeah, this is sort of the next step, that OLM vent. It usually lasts, I think the minimum that we've seen it last, it was like 30 minutes, but that was when the lines were already like very chilled down from another test previously. It was a recycling. That was probably not a good data point, I guess, but yeah, it's usually around an hour or so. So yeah, we should expect that to wrap up in about that time frame. And once it wraps up, that indicates the start of the liquid oxygen on the booster and propellant load. Yeah, oxygen. Okay, sure, whatever you want to call it. The oxygen is coined as an official NSF term, I guess. But yeah,
Yes.
once that starts, then I think for this one might not be a lot of propellant. Now, I said that the last time, and it turned out to be a full propellant load, so I don't want to jinx it. But we're not really expecting a lot of propellant if these were to be an engine test, I think. So yeah, we'll see. We'll just wait and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, because for this test they need at least some level of methane load, right? And we don't expect a full methane load for this, because otherwise we would have seen some evacuation. Because
Yeah.
apparently, like I said last time, loading about 2,000 to 3,000 tons of methane requires some sort of caution. That's apparently some methane.
You were
Let me hit
saying?
some support. Yeah, it's quite a methane. The terms I think quite a lot. Let me hit some support here, because we got a lot of support again. And again, this enables this. This makes sure we can do this. James Yugemas, you guys are so great. Love these streams. Watching from Devon, UK, with 4.99 curly L's. Theri Plantier with 20 euros. Hi from France, and go B9, go NSF. Go. Yeah, I'm waving over the border. You're basically separating Alex and me. Gamer Tom with the question: is this a spin prime or static fire? We expect it will be a static fire. Jao Müller with becoming a PadRed member. Welcome to the PadRed team. Make sure to check out the member view we have running, so you can do that. Christopher Rolla with a $20 super chat. Thank you for that. No question attached. Thomas Tate with a $9.99 super chat. I just realized something. If NSF wanted to pull a prank, they could take one of the OLM pictures, put a live logo down at the bottom of it in After Effects, and just go to town on the jokes. Wait, go live logo on the bottom. I don't understand this. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh. I think like branding the OLM. That's probably the joke.
Yeah, so like putting our names on it. I mean, we could do that. There were some. There were some funny pictures in the past. Craig Hansley with the $4.99. Thanks for the member view channel. Awesome job, everyone. Thank you so much. And then we have Christopher Rolla again with a $10 super chat. Took the day off for today's testing. More stream, more better. Yeah, the good thing is the next might be on a Sunday. This Sunday, actually. So you might be in a good of luck. And also, I want to give a special shout out here to our newest Red Team member, Kevin Michael Reed.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, who's that?
Kevin, you can now enjoy things like behind the scenes pictures, apparently, and also you can enjoy the member multi-view. Make sure to check out these perks, Kevin. They really coming in handy for you. I hope you will enjoy them. For these who don't know, Kevin is very much for these who don't know, Kevin is very much involved with a lot of these things, and yeah,
we love you, Kevin.
Thank you so much. Love you, Kevin. And we have Steve Joshua becoming a new member, a Red Team member. Thank you so much. And David Wadsworth becoming a PadRed member. Whew. That's clears up that. And let's go back to questions here. There's a question of a boost event earlier. Shoutouts to everybody that was on SBL and lost their ears on that event. Was the boost event earlier an abort, so they are recycling now? Trevor, why do they vent before these tests?
Yeah, so no, that was not an abort. I'm not entirely exactly sure which vent he was referring to, but there has not been an abort vent yet. And why there is venting, it's because everything just needs to be chilled down ahead of propellant load. So they're just slowly bringing everything down in temperatures, and as part of that, you have some gases or liquids that boil into gas, and you need to let go of that pressure. So that you don't have some large pressure buildup in a pipe that then blows up or whatnot. So thankfully no aborts yet. All of this venting has been nominal.
And also sometimes they have to release some ambient pressure from the booster, hence the booster sometimes are venting as well before these tests. So because they use ambient pressure to stabilize these boosters. Because if you pressure something, it gets stability. If you don't pressure it, it crumbles like a can. And we don't.
Yeah, see also SN, what was it, SN3?
Yeah.
SN3. SN4 was kaboom, SN3 was crumble. But we should just give them like I associate them with one, quick word.
Yeah. 3 was a crumple
that's-
pop, 4 was methane kaboom, 2 was a test tank and is sitting at the Sanchez lot now. 1 was a pop, and Mark
1 was
a
bottom.
pop.
Yeah, 1 was bottom pop, MK1 was top pop.
Don't say bottom pop.
No.
I think this is a language barrier thing. I will move on.
SM4 was you, Jack, about the methane in the first stack.
Okay.
We have it on the intro.
I have to say this again. If you don't remember, that was me being a host and trying to like set the question up for somebody to answer the obvious question. Like I knew I'm not dumb, but sometimes, but everyone thinks I'm dumb now because of that quote, and also everything else I do.
I want to point out you perfectly set up the question to be answered, and SpaceX answered. They were like, "Good question, Jack. Watch this." I hope they didn't. At which time do we expect the booster test? About an hour from now, right, Alex?
Yeah, still a bit of ways to go. We just saw the OLM vent start. Usually the times is, again, about an hour or so for the OLM vent. Maybe a few minutes more of propellant load, and if it's not a lot, then maybe... What? Maybe test a few minutes after that? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we're probably within an hour and a half, I guess. Yeah.
There we go. Oh god, this is a question which could spark chaos. I'm not sure if I want to ask it. Holger's asking, do you think a Starship Heavy variant with 3 Super Heavies would theoretically be possible? The payload capacity would be just ridiculous. We call it Super Duper Heavy. It's a technical term. And oh god. It's I'm not sure if that would, like, they're already struggling to make this in any way possible. Right. 3 times the thrust? I'm not sure. Jack,
can I say something?
Based on how the orbital launch mount works, I'm gonna say no. Because the orbital launch mount is a very important part of starting up the outer 20 engines on the booster, and I don't even think you could fit like 2 other mounts on either side. Like, it's just not going to happen. 2, let's think about it logistically. You would have to have 2 other orbital launch mounts directly adjacent to this orbital launch mount, and even if there was space for that, which there's not, like, the diameter of the ring itself would mean that the side boosters are significantly further away from the center core. They would also have to, just like with Falcon Heavy, re-engineer the center core so that it was even beefier, so that it could take the loads from the side boosters. It's just not. That's not a thing. It's just not going to be
funny though.
I mean, theoretically possible, sure, but actually gonna happen? I
No.
think we can all agree now.
I would argue it's probably not even theoretical, because there's always the whole talk of, well, this might be good on paper, but then in practice it's not good. No, this is not good even on paper. Look, it's no, because that booster as a center core, it will be all stringers. You can see it's like reinforced everywhere, either on the inside or on the outside. You can see a lot of ribs on the bottom there. Those are reinforcements on the engine section, because it needs those, because it's like, what, 4mm thick steel? It will need a whole lot more reinforcements to take all of the side loads. Yeah, that will be horrible.
Yeah, the other thing is like, if you remember, with Falcon Heavy, part of the reason there was that 3-year delay between the first several flights and this year and all of the flights that we've seen is payload readiness. It's sort of like a catch-22. Like, you can build a rocket with massive payload capability, but at a certain point, there are no payloads that require that capability. So there's a lag of some amount of time for companies to develop and build payloads that require that capability. So Falcon Heavy is just now getting to the point where that capability is going to be used, and used often. And it's the same thing with Starship, to where this thing can lift so much mass, and you can even go to an expendable configuration and lift even more mass, and there's literally no payload out there that requires that much mass. So it's going to be a while before companies catch up to what Starship can do and start building things that can even take advantage of what Starship and Super Heavy can do. And just going to a super duper heavy configuration for all the reasons we've already stated, plus just there's nothing that requires that sort of payload. I mean, maybe it would make sense in terms of getting Starship into orbit and needing less refueling or refilling or whatever you want to call it before it goes on and does its mission. That's about the only thing that I could think that might be useful for. But yeah, ultimately, we've probably talked about this for too long, and that's probably my fault, but there you go. All the reasons why, nah.
Can I just bring up
And
the
also-
math real quick because I love it?
Moon.
Moon.
Right. One of the other things is quite inefficient to have 3 boosters strapped together because the amount of propellant you can hold grows with the square of radius when your mass just grows with radius. So it's way more efficient to have 1 large tank than 3 small ones.
Yeah,
And that's
for that,
actually what Elon has hinted in the past. Like, we know how Elon dreams to scale up Starship. It's not attaching more booster, it's making bigger boosters. It would be, for example, a 12 diameter ship or an 18 diameter ship. Like, we know that's the way how they would like to do this, and not attach more.
yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, just one more comment on this before we can move on is Starship is already at the point where it's so big, and if something goes wrong with it, it would be such a big kaboom that the number of places where you can safely launch it is highly limited. I mean, that's why SpaceX was looking at offshore launching and landing platforms. Is this thing is essentially at the upper bound of what is physically reasonable and possible to have in any place around the United States or the world where you can reasonably logistically get all the propellants and all of that stuff. So making this thing any bigger, you almost need to move offshore at that point, and that's a whole other set of challenge. But anyways, we can move right
Is
along.
that the LOX vent that's... Oh, this view isn't as good, but I think the LOX vent's really picked up.
Yeah, that the LOX tank farm, the Loxygen tank farm, I should say, is basically that's condensation that's happening from the subcoolers being filled with liquid nitrogen, and they basically let oxygen flow through it to cool it down. So that's how they really getting it cooler and cooler. I also want to point out the last comment section here. That was just a chain of I will do one last comment, felt like almost like a Kingdom Hearts naming scheme. This is like the last comment 2.5 final mix at this point. So I had to get that out. Let's see. This is an interesting one by Gareth. Booster 7 and Ship 24 was classed as successful by leaving the pad and not blowing up Stage 0. What's your opinion on Booster 9 and Ship 25 being successful? Stage separation? Let's start with Trevor.
In my opinion, if Booster 9 and Ship 25 make it to stage separation and hot staging is successful, that's hugely successful. It doesn't even matter how second stage flight goes at that point.
Alex, when is Flight 2 successful?
I do think that it probably needs to get all the way to stage separation this time around. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, it's already the second launch, come on. I want to see a full flight.
I agree. I think they need to... we even go further. I think the second stage needs to ignite as well. I think a full booster burn and a second stage ignition would be the moment where I think this flight was successful in terms of developing. Jack, how do you think about this?
I would agree. Something I would like to bring up, if you've watched our most recent daily video, SpaceX has been dismantling at least one of the tracking dishes at the tracking station. And if you remember, with the first flight, one of the things that happened was, so One of the dishes there is intact, but it also, I'm not a dishonomer, but the reflector or the whatever it is at the top of those little pylons that come out of the dish itself, like that either transmits or receives, is just a rusted out ring. So I don't even know if that dish is particularly functional at this point, but the other one is directly to the right of that, or at least it was. Now that yellow crane that you're looking at is holding up the part that holds the reflector. So I don't know if they're refurbishing it or upgrading it or dismantling it or what, but with that first flight, they lost communication with the... Yeah, Chad is saying sub-reflector, feed horn. Yeah, again, I'm not a dishonomer. Signal amplifier, waveguide,
There.
thank you, whatever it is. But there you go. You can see they are working on that part of that other dish. So at this point, I don't know what assets they're going to have available. Hopefully they get these things ready to go before the next flight. But again, with the previous flight, they did lose communication with the booster. So maybe this is part of some upgrades that they're going to do so that they don't lose communication with the booster. Complete speculation on my part, but I do find it interesting that this is some work that is being done ahead of the next flight, and yeah, I would agree. We need
These
to get...
dishes are also used on Falcon launches, though, correct?
Yeah, we've seen them tracking Dragon before. Ooh, waterfall.
Yeah, Dragon and
Yeah.
Falcon 9. I don't think that's waterfall.
It's not waterfall, but it's significant.
Yeah.
No.
Because before it was more like trickling. But yeah, these dishes. It's also because I'm a let's say I track the permits that SpaceX has with the Federal Communications Commission. All of those that they use to communicate either for rocket launches, for tests at Starbase and whatnot. And they recently filed a permit to sort of have under the same permit all of their antennas there at Starbase. I even have a map because they have all of the coordinates for all of the antennas. I may share that once I have it completed because I haven't really completed that yet. But yeah, it's really interesting because that permit includes the two dishes. So seeing them dismantling like within a few weeks of that permit going out, that's really weird. Yeah, it could also be that they are relocating them maybe to another place where they can get better signal from the vehicle. Like maybe that place, that location is not really the best. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where else they would put them, but my bet, if I was going to bet, and I know we're like way off the rails of the question here, but if I was going to bet on what they're doing there, it's just refurbishing or upgrading those dishes ahead of the next flight, making them work better or whatever, whatever is necessary. I don't think they're going to go away, especially given, Alex, that you have that FCC information. So it seems like they're just working on them, upgrading them. Similar to how with the Starlink building, they just put a new crane in there. Like, SpaceX has just been checking off so many boxes in terms of taking Starbase from a scrappy little pile of dirt in South Texas to a fully fledged, fully operational launch facility, and this just seems like another part of that. Anyways.
Yeah, and one thing I will also point out though, because we've talked about these dishes being for crew launches, like tracking Dragon and also Falcon 9 second stages. I do not think it will affect any of those in the sense that it will delay them or anything like that, because this is just one of many ground stations that they have, like really dozens of them across the globe. So it's really not a big deal just because you remove one of the pieces. Yeah, it's probably a little bit of a hole in the coverage, but not a huge deal.
There we go. I like that. Let's go into more question. That's an interesting one, because since about tank farm, I want to actually hit this. I will use my host power here to hit this question. On days like this, how much nitrogen is actually lost, not returned to the tank farm? So these subcoolers have openings for the nitrogen because it basically is a heat exchange process. You have the cool nitrogen and the not so cool liquid oxygen, and while the oxygen gets cooler, the nitrogen warms up and boils off. So once it boils off, it will leave the subcoolers through an opening at the top. And it's actually one of the things that is probably, like, from all of the tests we see and everything that get lost during these tests, and also from the amount of tankers we see, nitrogen is probably the thing they're running through the most. because nitrogen is needed
100%.
in every part of the process, and a lot of these tankers are nitrogen. A lot of these tankers, like methane and oxygen, are cool to see, but most of them, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jack, are nitrogen, right?
No, I agree, and this is completely anecdata, but at the same time, when I am here and I see a tanker truck goes by, it feels like the vast majority of the time that tanker has nitrogen in it. Then the next most prevalent one is oxygen, and then the least prevalent one is methane. Like, it's to the point where when I see a methane truck go by, I'm kind of like, oh, cool, methane. And that makes sense, because if you just look at the tankage, you know, the oxygen tank is bigger than the methane tank, so they need more of it, and they also do more tests with oxygen. They do fewer tests with methane, just for safety purposes. And like you said, Adrian, they need loads and loads and loads of nitrogen in order to cool things down, purge lines, all that stuff. So definitely I would say the commodity they go through the most of is nitrogen by far.
They also can
And-
spill and like vent
Yeah.
nitrogen if like and oxygen to a lesser degree, but still they can vent it. Now methane though, there are regulations in place that you need to recapture it, or either that or like be very low amounts of methane. And if you do dump a lot of that, then it needs to be like what is it? It flared out. So you have
Yeah,
a flare
flared out.
stack or anything like that. But here they don't have a flare stack anymore. That was in the old days of, up to SM4.
It burns to CO2, right? Methane burns to CO2, if I recall correctly,
Water
right?
and CO2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So methane is quite a very hostile environmental gas. So you don't want to like leave that into the atmosphere. While CO2 is not optimal, it's better than methane.
Way better than methane.
Yeah, it's like methane is I think one of the worst, right? Like it's a pretty big and bad offender of the.
Yep.
So let's not release that, and hence they're having a recondenser system. The recondensing is exactly for that. They don't want to release methane. It's if not needed. So that's where you're going.
Yeah, me
question
either. For the record.
Yeah. Who is a KC expert here? Because I have a question from Elmats with a $9.99 super chat attached, saying, does KC have to truck water in for their deluge system, or is there like a spigot? Do we know that? Is there like a line that feeds the deluge system at KC?
That's a really good
It
question.
depends. For example, for LC39A and LC39B, there's a common storage between the pads. You can kind of see it right off the. There's like the crawlerway that goes to LC39B to the east of that, sort of around the middle. You can see like a storage of water. There's like I think 2 big tanks. I think it's 2 last time I saw the satellite views. But yeah, there's like 2 big tanks, and those 2 are where they store the water, and then that water is pumped all the way to each of the water tanks that you see, like the water towers that you see at each pad. They get pumped. Like, people think that the water is stored on the tower. No, that's not the case. The water is stored in the ground, like on ground tanks way far away, and then it is pumped up to the tower as they count down in the rocket countdown and everything, and then it is dumped at T0 for the engine ignition. For the other pads, the Cape, though, Slick 40, for example, has a very similar system to this in the sense that it is pressurized. It is not a water tower. You have tanks that are pressurized with water, so you basically pump the water through with just pressure from nitrogen or things like that. So yeah.
There we go.
And
more
yes, you have to truck it in.
There we go. Before we hit more questions, I want to give a quick shout out to the merch store, and also want to point out the best way to probably support us, because you, as we say, get something in return. And I want to highlight 2 products here that are limited. I want to start with the Starship Orbital Flight Patch. which was our amazing patch, I think, for the first flight. I really love this design, and I think Pauline did an amazing job with it, of the Moon and Mars. That's our special patch design that is for the first flight of Starship, and we still have some stock left. And if you want to get that, make sure to shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com to get it. And there's another, even more limited product, and I'm looking at the numbers here so I don't get them wrong here. We have less than 40 full stack plushies available in the store. So if you want to grab a Starship full stack 22 inches plushie, you should get it very, very soon. We are almost run out of them. If you want them, now is the time, and I wanted to give this quick information. They're almost gone. That's just a fact. After that, we don't have them anymore. And yeah, so if you want them, check out shop.nasaspaceflight.com. I love them. I love my plushie. And if you also want to have yours, make sure to get them and leave a nice message if you want to, because I can look at what people brought up here. Because we have Daniel here saying, I'm starting my first year teaching middle school math this fall, so I am buying this plushie to have in my classroom. Thanks NSF from Mr. H and my future students, and I love puns like Sawyer. And we can also see what you got here in the store. With this is an NSF hat, and I would imagine the second one is probably a plushie, which is, there we go. And also Markin getting a last minute plushie here as well. And also a Starship Assembly t-shirt. So thank you also for that support. And again, shop.nasaspaceflight.com if you want to have a plushie. We are almost, done with them. And then off to the next projects. So, anybody want to give me a summary of where we are? Alex, give me a vent update. Hit me with some vents here.
Hit me with your best vent? I don't know.
Yeah.
Spin prime away.
Okay. Come on, man. Yeah, we're still on that OLM vent, waiting for the waterfall. Ooh, what's with the hands, Jack? You did it on the last video.
The spooky fingers.
Yeah, the spooky fingers. Yeah. So the waterfall mode of that vent is sort of basically what it sounds like. It just looks like a waterfall of cryogenics coming down from that vent. It's really crazy. There's sometimes it doesn't really happen, like or like it happens really quickly, but when that happens, we're within minutes of that OLM vent stopping and propellant load starting. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Certainly getting into the business end countdown. And also the moon made a comeback. Hello, moon. So let's make sure we are standing by for propellant loading here, and that's always the exciting part, because that's the part we don't know. Up until now, it's very much known what will happen, but we don't know how much propellant they will load. So that's the uncertainty. Also, people are asking who the voice is on stream, and I want to quickly go around the horn. We sometimes forget to do that because we are just trying to answer questions and everything and discuss. But my name is Adrian Bile. I'm today's host and commentator, writer, whatnot for NASASpaceflight. With us also here we have Alex.
Well, I was gonna joke that the voices that you're hearing are from the haunted ships that were discarded. Yeah, I'm SN11. Hi, I blew up to pieces. No, it's a joke. I'm Alex. Yeah, I'm Alejandro Alcantarilla Romera, because people struggle to say that. But yeah.
That's the right pronunciation. I want to clip this and make sure I pronounce it right the next time.
Right.
I mean,
I
could try it better, but yeah.
I feel like I've
didn't
never
really
actually
try
heard
this.
him say his name. Like it was so lyrical. It was beautiful, Alex.
Yeah. I feel now bad how I said it before.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a dumb American just being like, Alex.
Yeah, because
Anyways,
it's better.
Jack Bayer.
It's easier.
Also, he's
Yeah.
Jack Bayer.
Yeah, I'm Jack. Hi, I'm Jack.
And also we have Trevor Zeshnik. Is this Zeshnik?
Technically yes, but the Americanized version of it is just Seznek.
Okay.
Be just
there we
like me
go.
with Alex.
Yeah,
And we
except
also
for
have
see,
Pat.
I'm an American, so it makes more sense.
Really,
Al-
Trevor
also-
says Nick. You don't really say Nick that much. It really should be like Trevor says Tay, because you always talk about Taylor. Anyways, I'll stop talking.
And also Patrick Cahoon in the back channel. There we go.
Oh, you pronounced it right. Because Patrick's last name, it's also a bit of a workout there.
So let's ask some more questions here about upcoming tests. And just to recap, we are expecting a spin prime test. This is not igniting the engines, so you will not see any fire today if everything goes right. Although there have been spin prime tests in the past that had some fire, but we are not hoping for that today. And we expect some. Basically, what we will see is a amount of a stream of gas coming from the bottom of the engines, and that's it, kind of. Like, we expect a huge stream of gas, and that would be a clean spin prime test that we would hope for today. But we will see. We'll see how this goes today, and where SpaceX may be surprising us with something. I still hope for a deluge test. Like, my hope for this test is that we maybe get a surprising deluge bonus test. That would be very, very cool. Alpaco asking, do you guys know some information about the current state of the FAA decision regarding the license of this flight? Who wants to tackle that? Who's up until the regulation game?
I can take that. The FAA and SpaceX really aren't allowed to comment on any of those investigations, so unfortunately it's all kind of just conjecture at this point of what they have to do and whatnot. However, the FAA is generally very good about being done with their paperwork at the time that a vehicle is ready to fly, so I don't foresee any large delays being caused by the regulations and changes that need to be made following the first flight.
Absolutely. So let's hope they wrap that up, because there's also this. I mean, at this point, the regulatory side is at least a decent concern, right? Because this vehicle might be ready in, I don't know, 4 weeks or so, and then it might be just coming down to regulatory issues, and if they are allowed to launch at this point, because if you don't have a wrapped up FAA investigation of a vehicle that had an anomaly, to my knowledge, you're not allowed to fly again, right? It's the requirement.
It's also worth pointing out as well that, because, you know, we're not blind, we see all of these reports and everything, whatever. There's a clear thing to mention here, just what Trevor said here about commenting from the FAA and SpaceX about the status of the report and the investigation and everything. They won't say anything until it is complete. So their standard sort of go-to kind of statement that they give to the press when the press actually asks them is like, yeah, it's not completed, we're still undergoing that and whatever. It doesn't really tell you whether it is like 3 months away or 3 days away, because I'm seeing, especially the sort of the reaction from people I usually see is that, oh, they're so far away from completing the investigation. There's not really anything that indicates to you that it is so far away or so close away. So, like, really, just give them time. It's not really that to me at least, it's not that big of a deal. They still have to complete testing anyways.
Oh, that's the Pope going strong again. I love the vending from it. It always looks so ominous, because it's just to point out the vent behind the booster. That's not coming from the booster. That's coming from the vent right behind it. And it always looks like the booster is just really going strong, but no. This is a £5 super chat from Steven here asking, would the lunar variant need the hot stage ring, or could it use the upper stage thrusters to separate? That's, is that, like, I've always thought, is it more part of the ship or the booster? Like, would the lunar variant also have the hot stage ring? Oh.
But where?
I don't see
Does it
why
need
not.
it? I think that they're meaning on the actual ship, but I don't think that will be needed.
I mean, if they're gonna hot stage the lunar starship off the booster during launch, yeah, they need a hot stage ring. Or is that not what they're asking?
I thought it meant like on the actual ship, not on the booster or something. Or maybe I'm taking the
hot
question
stage.
wrong.
No, basically the question is, will the lunar starship also launch with a hot stage ring? Like, will the booster also attach the hot stage ring for lunar? I guess yes, right? Because it's more part of the booster system.
Yeah, I will assume as well. Yeah, if they mean the one on the booster, sure. I thought that they meant because it says like could use the upper thrusters. Oh, it means like to separate for the hot staging, so that it doesn't need to ignite the main engines, right? Ah, now I get it. No, it will probably still need the main engines because the thrusters are made to land on the moon. They're probably too low of a thrust to separate from the booster. I actually did a few of this math on the Discord, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it probably needs all 6 engines to separate because the ship is heavy, and even though you're thrusting with only 3 engines on the booster at 50% thrust, it's still a lot of thrust and like the thrust to weight ratio and everything. So yeah, at the end of the day, we at least the numbers kind of give maybe 6 engines needed to do that separation. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I will hit support here again because I cannot say like this is such a amount of generous support here. So we start with Troy Rupert with 20 Red Team memberships gifted. Thank you so much. Enjoy all the access now that you get with the Red Team memberships. Jason Dollinger with a $20 super chat. Think with the new deluge we'll have to start actually seeing Starship lift off, or will it just be obscured by sand and massive amounts of steam with no flame trench? Will we ever get a good view like Saturn V or Shuttle? That's a good question I want to throw to the photographer here in this round, if he is around. Dak, do you have any hope that the deluge helps you get better pictures at liftoff?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the dust cloud is smaller given the deluge, but like the questioner asks, it might just be replaced by a steam cloud. And the other thing I will note is that this is functionally the beach where this launch site is, and what that means is even with the deluge system and even if the steam doesn't obscure things, there is just sand and dust and grit everywhere, including in all my lenses, which is a delight every time I zoom in and out and hear crunching and want to just curl into a ball and weep softly. Anyways, that said, I think there's enough dust and sand everywhere that and this thing is just so powerful that at liftoff we will just see a large cloud of everything, both steam and dust and sand and whatever else. That doesn't mean we're not going to get good views of liftoff, and I am hopeful that with this system operational, it will be obscured a little bit less. But if you're an enterprising and lucky photographer, you can still get some really cool shots depending on how you account for that steam and dust and everything. So, no worries.
Thank you. We got a $5 super chat from Beer Time Continuum. Thanks, my dudes. Thank you. Tom State with a $9.99 super chat. I would... you were talking about the fake livestream thumbnails for the April Fools earlier with the NSF logo. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm German, I don't get jokes. So, I'm sorry for that. Plutonium239 with a $5 super chat. Good luck with the spin prime. Let's hope no boom happens. I agree. Shittynator with a $9.99 super chat. I mean, we thought catching a booster was theoretically impossible. Who's to say you can't strap 3 boosters together? Come on, gentlemen. Don't tell me what's impossible. Tell me how to make it possible. I mean, I would say so far nobody has catched a booster. So let's first start with that, right? Before we use it as an example of things that might be possible. So yeah, I mean, we talked about super duper heavy too much already. We should probably move on. No more super duper heavy talk. Magnus Radin becoming a Red Team member. Thank you so much. Mark, I don't doubt you're the real one, but Mark Hamill with $9.99. I mean, you might be the real name in the name Mark Hamill, but you're not the Mark Hamill, I would imagine. With $9.99. Good morning, NSF. Thanks as always for the wonderful coverage. If you are though, I'm sorry, Mark. Chevalier becoming a Red Team member. Thank you so much. And Anonymous, thanks for all what you do. Tank Watchers for Life with a store message for us. And let's see what they got. I have a high suspicion. Yes, it's a full stack plushie. And again, we are already 1/3 away of, like, we are already below 25 at this point. Tom State with a $9.99 super chat. Actual question this time. Is there a chance the water flood system can go beyond 100% in case the heat from the booster evaporates a lot of water? I mean, it needs to push, like, I don't think it would help the system. Like, I'm having a hard time tackling this question. Anybody has a take on this? Or, like, I don't think it can go beyond 100%.
I don't think so, yeah. Because you probably will need more pressure than you have, and they have the pressure that they have. I guess that didn't make sense, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the reasoning being like, if the water evaporates, can they basically push more because less water in the lines? But instead of the lines you having water, you then have steam that evaporates quickly. So yeah, I do not think it's possible. Sorry. Gabriel, with asking a store message question, how many Merlin 1D engines would they need to have the same amount of thrust as Super Heavy? Alex or Trevor, some of you two want to do some quick math of how much Merlin engines would they need to replace Super Heavy's Raptor engines?
What, it's roughly 3 Merlin engines to 1 Raptor, if I recall correctly, because Merlin is, what?
Sorry,
right
talking
around,
about muted. I was
around
doing the math.
850 kilonewtons. So
88 Merlin 1D engines.
Wow. That's quite a lot of engines. I mean, I don't think they would do that.
I was gonna estimate 90 with mental math, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate for mental math. I would take that. Also, they got a Starship in the Sky metal print, which is a lovely shot, so enjoy that. And Nicholas saying in a store message, hello, last minute rush. And I imagine it's a full stack plushie. It is a full stack plushie. Ethan, long time viewer, first time shopper. If Starship runs into issues, why is the hot staging ring like it has been for the payload bay? How long do you... Okay, basically, if the hot staging ring fails, how long would be the delay? Well, it depends how big the failure is, and if they can just roll out the second one, right?
I have a theory. By
ahead.
the way, we're hitting a bird, and it also flapped
Bird.
a little bit in front of the camera. That's fun. I have a theory, and it's that if it fails, and they have the vehicles ready, I think they're just gonna revert back to the old method for the time being. And yes, I know the QE has been modified, but it can be modified back. Like, it's just an extension. What they did, just basically raise it a little bit. They can remove that and go back to the previous configuration, do another flight like with the previous method of staging, see if that works for the time being, and then fly the third flight B with a hot staging ring, like a proper one that passes the test. That's my thinking, because I don't think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, it failed, we're gonna delay this for like 2 months until we figure out a better way to make the hot staging ring. I don't think that's probably what we'll see.
Yeah, they could just put like a heavy reinforced ring with stringers between the both and be like, okay, let's just launch this. Maybe. We'll see. Nick, keep up the amazing work, NSF. You truly inspired, educate in a fun and enjoyable way. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick. And also, Nick got something from the store here, which I want to display. And Nick got the Orbital Flight Club shirt from the first Orbital launch. And also a full stack plushie. Good choice. John here, you guys are awesome. Please keep up the great work. And also got something from the store. Let's see here. They got a test flight patch, great choice. And also getting a plushie, good choice there. Byteford with a $50 tip using tips.NASASpaceflight.com. Just thanking you all for the fantastic coverage, knowledge and humor. Best site out there for space coverage as well as others. Hugs to all. Hugs to you as well. It's really, really generous support of you. Thank you so much. And we also got a $100 tip through tips.nasaspaceflight.com from Richard saying, "This is Methane Man. Here's some cash towards the camera upgrades. Great job." Thank you, Richard. And with that,
Guacamole, thank you so much. That is very, very
yeah, sorry, I had to hit that as well. I'm like, we want to thank people, what we also want to talk about, what's happening. It's always a fine balance here. And let's hit what is happening here. Where are we? Let's bring up some facts again where we are. Trevor, where are we right now?
So we are still in the cooldown phase of the GSE ahead of propellant load. So as we can see from the vehicle, there is no propellant on board yet. So we're still probably at minimum half an hour out from the test, probably closer to an hour.
So yeah, let's hope we might be in for a bit here. But it's getting more exciting, and they're closing up probably the pre-chill down of everything.
Yeah, propellant load is likely starting very shortly.
Yeah, it's always this time where we are just staring at the vent, and you just hope to see it stop. That's an interesting one. Philip Howell asking, do you think SpaceX will fly the same flight trajectory on OFD2? Alex, do we expect the same flight trajectory for the second flight?
I think they will probably try the same thing, yeah. I've said multiple times that I think Ship 25 is a glorified nose cone, and all they want to do is just mainly test that the booster can complete its whole flight, like from engine ignition all the way to staging, and then whatever comes after, it's extra bonus points. So yeah, that's my thinking as well here, that it's just going to be the same flight trajectory.
Then let's hope we get some confirmation on that.
Tilt up.
Oh, is it a tilt up? Like, I'm always worried to say things like tilt up in Jackers here because I'm always worried it's the wrong term. And is it tilt up?
Yes, tilt. You tilt up and down, you pan left and right.
So if somebody says I tilt left or right, you get angry.
Correct.
Good.
I always take it as you wouldn't tilt a pan. That's a frying pan.
That's like these anti copying a movie commercials that were a few years ago. You wouldn't tilt a pan.
Exactly. But like if you have a pan, a frying pan in your hands, right? You wouldn't tilt it. You wouldn't like, unless you were like flipping an omelet or something.
Yeah.
So
Alex,
that's how I take it.
I love you. But that's a terrible mnemonic. I'm sorry. That's awful. Because I tilt the pan a lot, especially if you're like doing some sunny side up eggs. You like tilt the pan, you get the eggs up in one little side.
That's
and
horrible.
You know,
no, you're getting it wrong.
No, you're doing it wrong. Let's fight.
No, you. Cooking fight. I'm gonna go down there to Starbase and I'm gonna show you my best cooking abilities. Anyways,
we need argument mode for these streams. So if you have not seen argument mode, watch the latest NASASpaceflight. But we need argument mode for these as well. It's the best. I love argument mode. Oh, that's always the funniest. We always get them once a stream. And it's time to ask the question that everybody loves from 740. When do you think they will have the next full stack launch? Who wants to answer this super easy question?
End of August.
End of August. Do I hear something else? Trevor?
I'm saying October 21st.
Gonna mute myself.
Is there a specific reason for October 21st?
Not really. I just think that launch is a little further out than we all want it to be, and if I've learned one thing in the Starship program, it's that delays are, or in spaceflight in general, it's that you should expect delays. So even though it seems like they're tracking readiness very soon, something can very easily happen and that no longer be the case. So
I thought
I
it
was
was
for a
because there's a
moment-
Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah, I was expecting Taylor Swift's birthday or something.
no, that's
Oh,
December
that's
13th.
December 13th.
my
My
God.
birthday as well. Yeah. We both have the same birthday, apparently.
You have so much in common.
Yeah, right? Except the voice. I'm not really a good singer.
Do you think we will see eventually hot stage static fire? We answered before. I think the answer is we would find it cool, but no. Anybody else, anybody else think it might actually happen? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Nope.
Because if you look, just imagine this for a moment. The hot staging ring basically redirects the force outside. You know what's outside there? The ship QD. So you basically would kind of roast your ship QD.
Can I say
So-
another reason why not?
Yes.
And it's a reason that we like a lot on Falcon 9 launches. When the rocket ascends and goes up, what happens to the outside pressure? It goes down, and the exhaust expands. And so what means is that if you try to do a static fire here on the pad with a ship on top, and the hot rings, like the hot staging ring, whatever, it will not be the same as it is at 60, 70 kilometers up, whatever is the staging, because the exhaust from the engines is going to be expanded up there, and it's not going to impinge on the booster the same way that it does here on the ground. So that's a good point, I will say. Or rather,
So,
a
yeah.
non-point, because it's expanded.
It will not happen. The answer basically is it will not happen. We can assure you that. The question about the first flight here. Why won't the booster decouple after the failed staging of the previous launch, and what was the cause? I know there was a call out on stream that boosters should separate, but did we get an answer if that was actually tried and why it didn't separate?
I don't think we should look too much into some of the live stream callouts. I think that the teams that weren't in the control room just weren't 100% sure of what was going on. So they probably saw the flip and were like, oh, so this must be us trying to stage. So I wouldn't look into that too much, but it is bizarre how the stages didn't separate during the temple.
Yeah,
So-
Elon said it was never attempted, the
Yeah.
staging. So, yeah. Or even igniting the ship engines.
It's crazy how structurally sound the vehicle was at that stage of flight. It reminds me a lot of Firefly's first flight when they hit max Q and just started tumbling, and the carbon fiber rocket did not just fall apart. It just goes to show how robust and overbuilt this vehicle is. And to that point, just quickly derail and say, I'm still waiting on thinner tank walls. If that ever happens, I think we're still dealing with 4mm walls here. Looking forward to them reducing the mass on both these vehicles and just evolving this whole design. But clearly they have some margin in their structural capabilities, given that they were able to do multiple somersaults and the ship didn't separate and the whole stack didn't just cave in on itself.
Which is surprising, because I've seen your pictures of Booster 11 at the Rocket Garden, and it has a lot more stringers on the inside. You can see the weld patterns from welding them inside of
Yeah.
the tanks.
11 is a
somehow
beefy boy.
It somehow has even more stringers on the inside of the tanks for some reason. They're making it even stronger.
Yeah, 11 is
This
definitely
is not
beef.
my final form.
It's beef supreme for sure.
I've looked at something else, and the first thing I hear again is it's beef supreme for sure, and it's that's the proper thing when you look at something else while being on a stream. You suddenly are in a very different conversation.
Going back to what Jack was saying real quick, I'm trying to remember, was it SN7 point something that was the first test tank for thinner steel? And wasn't that in 2020 that SpaceX started talking about this, and they still haven't gone to thinner tanks?
Yeah. that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, and I feel like I say this at least once every stream, like, an Elon tweet does not reality make, not just with SpaceX, but with everything. And also, just because Elon mentioned it offhand in like an EDA interview, as great as those are, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. I mean, it's really, really fascinating to get insight into the thought process and into the things that might be possible, but like, there's a long list of things that we just haven't seen yet and may not ever see, or it might be years before we see, which includes, of course, 3 extra vacuum engines on the ship, changing or eliminating the forward flaps on a ship, going to thinner tank walls like we just talked about. I mean, again, and like we talked about earlier, Elon has mentioned a wider diameter ship. Currently, we're at a 9-meter diameter. Someday they might go to a 12-meter diameter or an 18-meter diameter, who knows? But all that stuff is probably well off into the future, and at this point, it's just like, keep building prototypes that or are very sure will work as is, and get 1 or 2 or a couple into orbit, and go from there. But everything beyond that at this point is pretty up in the air. But all that said, I have to wonder.
It's actually on the ground.
Wow.
Oh.
Thank you, Sawyer Jr.
Oh.
Sawyer Jr.
Soyju? I don't know. I think that's a drink. Yeah, right, Hoju. Exactly.
That's a Simpsons reference there.
Yeah. But no, I do have to wonder, like, it takes them, as quickly as they churn out vehicles, it takes them quite a while to build them, test them, and get them ready to launch. I mean, I think Booster 7, by the time it finally launched, was like over a year old. So all that is to say, I really, really wonder what sort of things they do have on the drawing board in Hawthorne. What sort of things they're thinking about as the next evolution of the vehicle. And I cannot wait till we can find out. And one of those things is, of course, the human lander variant. And if you watched our latest Starbase update, the flyover edition, you got a little bit of information on what we think maybe, potentially, might be a lunar lander type test article of some kind, which is the nose cone formerly for Ship 22 that currently resides in the mid-bay and is having all kinds of weird work done on it. So if you haven't watched that video, save it to watch later, open it in another tab, do whatever you need to do. So to give that a watch, because it's a good video, and like one of the commenters on that video said, is one of the more exciting things to me at this point in the program, is what's going on with the human landing variant, and what exactly are they doing with the former Ship 22 nose cone.
One of the things that I do remember from all of these, because we were talking about the changes, there was a change that was announced, like, I think it was 2019, like a long time ago, and now finally is soon to be debuting, which is flatter domes, the elliptical domes. And those, basically, I think it was to Raphael, our good friend Raphael, he tweeted, I think it was like a diagram of MK1, and then said, oh yeah, we're gonna flatter the domes, like make them flat so that they can hold, like, we still weld them on the same locations or like a little bit differently, but it's still like it increases the propellant load on the ship and on the booster. Well, finally, after a long time, 4 years later, we have a vehicle that has that kind of dome. It is not Booster 9, but it is Booster 10, which has already been tested at the Masses test site, and it is now at the Rocket Garden. Right,
the elliptical domes, that is a big one. Also, like, header tank changes. The header tanks on the ship have changed quite a bit, and if I'm not mistaken, the header tanks on the booster have also changed quite a bit over time. But I could be just completely mistaken there. Let's see. We do have a whole bunch of support coming in, so thank you so much to everybody that is doing that. Looks like Paul got a store purchase. They say hi from the UK, loving the live vids, by the way. They got the patch. Thank you, Paul, for doing that. Greg says, just spent $79 on a full stack Starship. in order to practice dual arm recoveries. But for real, if you want a plushie Starship, get it now, because they're like, I'm looking at the store channel. They're dwindling. The numbers are dwindling, and I don't want to get any DMs from people being like, "Oh, I didn't get a thing because I did." Get it now. Now is pretty much your last chance. Dawson, thank you for the support, grabbing something from the store there. Let's see what they got. Oh, Dawson got a bunch of stuff. Something Dawson's Creek. I don't know. They got a full stack plushie. They got a flag. Nice. They got the patch design on a flag. That's pretty nifty. If I saw someone flying that flag, I'd be like, okay, we're friends. And they got, ooh, they got the Raptor blanket. They got some cool stuff. Nicola, thank you for the support with the smiley face. Mark Otto, thank you for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Very generous of you. If you got a membership from Mark, be sure to thank them. If you don't know what the membership program is, it's an awesome way to support what we do. It's absolutely integral to help us do what we do. And at the various different levels of support, you get various different perks. And the perks are awesome, including we have a member-only Discord at Capcom level and above. The member Discord rules. We just got a food chat channel. Everyone's been posting up delicious-looking food, including me. There's also a gaming channel where people like Moldy Space, friend of the channel, Moldy, you're awesome, posts up the horrible things they make in KSP, or you know, or you know, whatever. There's all kinds of channels. There's a Starship channel, of course, which is probably the most active one. Anyways, the Discord rules, the membership program rules. We couldn't do what we do without it. So thank you for gifting those 10 memberships. Ryan, thank you for the support. They said, would love a members-only rocket photography masterclass. That's not a bad idea. We should. I'm going to screenshot that right now. Just give me a second. Screenshotting. All right, I'll save that for later. We'll talk about it. Conrad, thank you for the support. What'd they grab from the store? Just going back for a second, it's kind of hard to give a masterclass on rocket launch photography, at least in my experience. A lot of it is luck. I mean, part of it is being in the right place at the right time, like Max was when he shot this awesome metal print that Conrad got with his remote cameras. But a lot of it, you know, a lot of it is knowing what to do, and a lot of it is luck. So it's kind of hard to give a clear way, like this is how you get a good photography photo of a rocket. Like sometimes there's a cloud, and there's really just nothing you can do. So I guess probably the first lesson of the notional rocket photography masterclass would be accept your fate. And whatever happens, happens. And you know, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. Conrad, thank you for grabbing some stuff from the store there. Let's see. Oh, they also got a full stack plushie. Out of this world, thanks for the support. They say after a busy week at work, it's my day off and not a bad start. Hopefully seeing a spin prime test. You guys are legends. Missing Sawyer puns. Aw. Well, don't worry.
Well, that's what we have Trevor here.
Exactly. Trevor's filling the pun role for this one.
Soju.
I am not as good as Sawyer, though.
Soju. I can't. Jimmy, thank you for the support. Wow, a lot of people getting stuff from the store. Thank you so much. They say thank you, NSF, for all that you do. Good luck. Also a full stack plushie. Also John. Let's see what John got. Probably also a full stack plushie. Oh, no, they got the Violet Thrust Triumph metal print. That's a solid one. Josh, thanks for the support with the $5 tip. They say, is that a diving board on top of Booster 9? No. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I assume it's the ship QD. Yeah, I don't know. Troy Rubert, thank you for the support. They say they should wait until the October 14th eclipse. Would be epic for photographers. I don't think the track goes directly over Boca Chica, but it does go close. I know it goes straight over McGregor. Wait, is that the... There's an annular eclipse later this year, and then there is a total eclipse next year. The total eclipse goes straight over McGregor. I'm not sure about the track of the annular eclipse. Either way, that'd be a cool shot. I secretly hope they don't do that, just because I want to shoot both at once, or I want to shoot both, and I don't want to shoot both at once. Like, it just seems like it's already stressful to shoot a rocket launch. It's already stressful to shoot an eclipse. And to shoot a rocket launch with an eclipse would be an amazing shot, don't get me wrong, but it's like double the stress. Wow, there's a lot of support coming in. Let's do some more questions, and I will get to some more of these because I don't want to bore everybody by running over testing and whatnot. But right now we're looking at Booster 9 on the mount. They appear to be going into a spin prime test at some point today. They have been chilling down all of the propellant lines, which is the activity that we're looking at right now. And
Just like the pipes, we're also chilling here.
right, we're all hanging out waiting for the test. So the next thing we would expect to see, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, is that large amount of venting coming from the orbital launch mount to cease and frost to begin building up on the booster. Although, not quite sure how much they're going to end up fueling it today for whatever test they end up doing. It could end up being a pretty minimal amount of fuel. So, hard to say how much frost we will get, if any. There are times where they fill up like just the transfer tube and just the domes, and they don't actually fill much of the tank up, so we don't actually get frost on the outside of the walls of the vehicle. But next thing we're looking for is for the chill down vent on the mount and ground propellant lines themselves to stop. But right now it looks like they're still flowing liquid nitrogen through those lines in order to condition them properly for propellant loading. That's where we're at. Stephen Porter is asking, how high is the orbital launch mount from ground level and what pressure bar is used for the water jets? I don't think we've gotten like a word from SpaceX on what sort of pressures the W system is running at. Alex, do you have any guesses?
For the water jets,
Yes.
how high is the OLM from the ground level? Well, I can answer that first one. It is about 18 meters, I think, more or less. And then the pressure, I'm not fully sure though. I think it must be maybe around, I don't know, like maybe 30, 40 bars, I think it is the pressure. Mostly because the ground tanks, I think they are at 50, and probably the pressure drops because of the distance and everything.
Right.
I'm thinking maybe it's about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for that, Alex. Helder D. Bear asking, theoretically speaking, if the booster's exhaust is too strong for the W system to mitigate, is there a possibility that the water in the plate evaporates and makes the plate go boom? Yes. This would be my main concern with the with how that setup works. The other thing I would be worried about personally, again, I am not a rocketonomer, is the vibration and the acoustic, I don't know, energy coming from the engines causing voids in the plate itself, and then those voids essentially heating up and acting like a overheated pressure cooker and also making the plate go boom. So really, fingers crossed, plate does not go boom. But I'm fairly confident that SpaceX has run the numbers and it will work. I don't know. Trevor, do you have any thoughts here?
Not really. I mean, theoretically speaking, it could happen, but it's a lot of water, it's a lot of steel. I'm not overly worried about damage to the plate.
Alex?
It probably depends. I don't think if it's just a little bit of boiling, it completely makes the steel plate go boom. There's probably some leeway there that they can afford until it actually goes boom. And I'm probably sure that SpaceX is banking on that. Like maybe if it's actually not good enough, then they're probably banking on that. Now, I gotta throw you a question that is different, but it's sort of in the same vein. This just popped in my head that if they test to 50% throttle, just like they did with the static fire testing, again, we're not thinking that's going to happen today, but it's happening soon, like in the next few days, that static fire test. If they do it to 50% like they did with Booster 7, in theory it should be good, because the concrete, even just the concrete, did well for that test. But if it is 100%, that's a whole different story. Because we saw for the flight, that difference between 50 and 90, because for the first flight it was 90% for the flight. That difference mattered a lot. So I'm thinking here that for a ground test, for a static fire test, it could be okay, and for a flight, that's where the question comes, whether they have enough leeway to allow for maybe a little bit of failure into the system. You know what I mean? Like maybe if even the boiling of the water goes into the water on the plate, then the plate can resist some of that extra pressure from that boiled water vapor, basically. That's my thinking, at least to a certain point. Obviously, if it's too much, it'll break. But I think they probably accounted for a little bit of that. And I think now this is a waterfall mode. Not sure if you
Excellent.
agree with that.
I mean, I am not.
Or maybe it's the wind.
It seems like waterfall to me, but I said waterfall earlier, and both you and Adrian were like, "That's not waterfall." So I'm gonna reserve judgment. Trevor, what do you think?
I am going to reserve judgment as well.
Smart
I'm
man.
gonna chicken out now.
Ooh.
Wow, that's not a sound I thought I would hear ever.
I
Is
did
that-
it. I
is-
did it really bad because
is that the sound of a Spanish chicken?
Right now. No,
Is-
it's just that I have my throat a little bit dry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see. More questions from our viewers. Remember, if you have a question at NASASpaceflight in chat, type your question after that and hit enter, and maybe we'll answer your question. Maybe. Let's see here. Ryeb says, how long till you think Starship will be launching on average once per week? That's a tall order. I'm going to say at least 2 years. Because I think for once per week, they're going to end up needing multiple pads. I don't know. That's tricky. Because Alex, talk to us about pad turnaround times for Falcon 9 so that we can sort of extrapolate what they're doing with Falcon 9 and what they might eventually get to with Starship in a best case scenario. And a lot of venting happening. Look at that. That's a
Yeah, we
large...
might be close to that end of that oil and vent, so that will be a good sign.
Excellent.
Of propellant load start. Yeah, Falcon 9, none of the pads comes to 1 week turnaround on average, but they can get way down. Oh, there we go. Haha. Just so as we were saying it. That's the oil and vent has stopped, so that's the indication that propellant load might have begun. I'm saying might because there's always the possibility that it might stop because they're just stopping altogether the testing and maybe delaying it. So there's a very small chance that that's the case. That's why I'm hedging here. The confirmation will be once we see that frost coming up on that liquid oxygen tank. That'll be like 100% confirmation.
Right, and they have like trolled us before, where they turn off the chill down vent and then they turn it back on. They turn it off, turn it back on. So hopefully we start to see frost on the booster, and we're into propellant load. That's what it looks like at this point. So good deal. Anyways, you want to continue your thought about Falcon 9 and pad turnaround as I click through these store messages from Thorsten? Thank you, Thorsten.
It's just a quick thought that Starship will need a lot of time to get there. Falcon 9 has gotten here after 13 years. It was June 4th, 2010. It's a long time. Starship has a lot of history though under its belt. SpaceX has a lot more experience than in 2010. I'm betting 4 to 5 years until we see 1 week flights. Like one launch every week.
Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
my thinking.
Like you said, they've learned a lot from the Falcon 9 program, but at the same time, it takes a while to get there. And they're still learning how to build Stage 0 and protect it from the booster and all of that. So, really quickly here, Methane Man, thank you for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Very generous of you. Also, Music Duck, also gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you both so much. Catherine, buying some stuff from the store. They say, I just wanted to say thanks for some amazing photography. They got a patch. What else did they get? Let's see here. Ooh, I got 2 patches. Daniel Cogben, thank you so much for gifting 5 NT memberships. Connor Scott, thank you. Todd Hiking?
Ooh, venting.
Venting from the booster?
I think it might be from the booster. Or maybe it's from the... I think it's from the ground systems.
I love that there was the Windows sound for a second there. The booster 9 needs to activate Windows.
There we go. And now it stopped venting.
Interesting. Andrew, thank you for the support. They say, greeting from Stockport, England. Anyone know how they go about finding truck drivers to haul Falcon 9s? Totally not trying to get a job there. I have no idea. Lincoln Thompson, just don't drive into a bridge, and you're good. Lincoln Thompson... They say, I say OLM has 6 flame trenches with each having 1/6 the energy between each leg. Is an overhead view. What stuff is shielded by a leg? What? I'm not sure how to parse this. I kind of get where you're coming from. Like, yes, the open nature of the legs of the launch mount are useful to dissipate the energy of launch. There's not really like, it's not like they hid tanks behind each leg or anything. Mostly it's just like that little doghouse structure you can see on the right leg in this view. That doghouse structure is just like holds a bunch of plumbing and whatnot. Matus, thank you for the support. They say, viewers since the ancient times of Hoppy the Immortal's first flight. Starhopper. It's Starhopper.
I knew you were going to say that.
I am Team Starhopper. I do not like the name Hoppy, but if you like it, good for you. You do you, but I'm still going to be grumpy about it. They say, thank you for years of amazing coverage for all of us who are not lucky enough to be able to go to Texas and see it with our own eyes. Well, thank you, Matus. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name. And thank you for the support, because that's the only reason we're able to do this stuff. But seriously, thank you. We all love what we do, and we love the fact that we can sort of act as the hype team and get everyone excited about this stuff, because it's cool and it's important. And I always say it, if people weren't excited about it, we wouldn't be going to space. So absolutely thank you for the kind words there. And if you want to call it Hoppy, but I mean, come on, it's Starhopper. Show it some dignity. Carl Weathers, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Wilbo, becoming a Padrat member. Andy, becoming a Padrat member. Gabriel, buying something from the store, says, love from California, West Coast, Best Coast. I'm just adding in that last part. They got a Starship plushie. Andy, thank you so much for the super chat there. They say, been a lurker for a long time. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Daniel, thank you for the support. They say, seems like a good idea for Starship to carry a spare roll of steel and a welding gun for en route repairs when the program takes off. Thoughts? I mean, I don't know about a spare coil of steel or anything. That seems maybe a touch excessive, but I can absolutely see a world where Starship has little drones that it deploys once on orbit. One to, like, check out the heat shield, one that does any repairs that are necessary, got, like, a little welding gun. I don't know. All that stuff. It's I mean, the amount of mass that this thing is capable of lifting is significant, and it enables you to do things like carry additional hardware. We getting frosty?
Well, we just moved the view to another one, but I saw a little bit of venting from the engine section there, like condensation, and also the engine chill pipe is frosty. Ah, there you go. You can see those tubes on the overall launch mount. There's one that is white. That white is not paint. That's actually cryogenics. That's liquid oxygen that is flowing from the engines down to those pipes, and then that pipe goes down the leg and out to one of the pits out there. That is the engine chill pit, which we covered on, I think it was the last 2 videos, because I think we mentioned something on the regular Starbase update, and then on the flyover version we pointed out this is it, and then you said, as a health advice, do not go into the engine chill pit when it is full of liquid oxygen.
Yep.
It's bad for your health.
Yeah, it would be bad. Also, don't smoke while in the liquid oxygen pit. That would also be bad. Rob, thank you for the support. Juliet, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. You get Discord access with that, so jump into Discord and say hey. Gabriel, thank you for the support. Grabbing something from the store. They say, love the coverage. Jack needs to try Loma Linda Big Franks. They go great with bacon. I have no idea what those are, but I'll have to look it up. Whoa, extreme zoom. Markinson, could you explain the pre-pressurization? Is the whole booster under pressure? What will happen if the booster hits something small in space and there will be a hole? Alex, this is all you, buddy.
What
Like-
what will happen?
Like the booster is pressurized, and the
It's
ships are
pressurized.
pressurized because they
Mhm.
they have more structural integrity when they're pressurized. It's the same thing as a soda can. If you have a full soda can, you could basically like stand on it if you're careful enough. If you have an empty soda can, you can crush it by standing on it. Similar with the vehicles. If the booster like gets hit by a micrometeoroid or something in space and there's a small hole in the tank, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go kaboomski or anything, as we say in Russia, but it does mean that they would need to repair that hole in the ship or the booster, which is sort of goes back to what we were talking about with the repair drone thing, which would be really cool to see. But I do just really quickly want to mention, if you saw the first flight, the flight termination system went off, and the booster did not completely
Yeah.
crumple, or like it took like 40 something seconds after the flight termination system blew large holes in the side of the booster and ship for anything structurally to happen. So I don't think it would be a huge deal. It would obviously be something you would need to mitigate for and repair.
Frost. We have frost on the
We have-
vehicle.
Excellent. Yep, you can see there right at the top of the stringers at the base of the booster. That's those vertical lines you're seeing there. You can see that frost rapidly starting to build as they load liquid oxygen into that liquid oxygen tank, and which makes sense because the liquid oxygen subcoolers appear to be going ham right now. So, good question from Markinus. Chris W, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Willie Gilly, thanks for the super chat. Nikolai, thank you so much for grabbing some stuff from the store. They're thanking us for our continued hard work. Isaiah, thank you so much. They say, I love when Starship tests end with a bang, and here's a pun token for Sawyer. Adrian. Lol, it's Adrian testing new merch. What? Are you serious?
Yes.
What is this new? Ooh. What is this?
Oh.
I'm not sure if we are already
Are we
yet,
not?
but,
Are we, okay.
Not yet.
All right. I
Not
might
yet.
have. I might have been
It's close.
premature there.
Hold
Let's
on.
go.
Maybe the next one.
What's this next
Oh,
one here?
Let's see.
But we have a frost line. Let's talk about that.
We do have a frost line, and extreme zoom. Yeah, the booster is now being loaded with liquid oxygen, and now all eyes will. Whoa! Extreme zoom. All eyes will be on this frost line as it slowly raises up the booster, and of course we'll keep an eye on the methane tank as well to see if it starts to get frosty. Can I quickly ask a question? Alex, I do
think
not
I know what
remember.
it-
I do not remember these weird
Yeah.
ring of vents around the aft of the booster. That was not on
I
Booster
knew you
7.
were gonna say that. Yeah.
What's up with those? You can even see one on the right in front of the rightmost chine there. You can see them all sort of venting. Are these engine chill vents in a different place that aren't hooked? I thought those were hooked up to the. Well, just explain, please.
Okay, so I don't know what they are. that's the short explanation. We actually sort of I was actually talking with a few of the people. Shout out to the Ring Watchers. I think it was Jax, who I was talking to about this. That way back when we were talking, we didn't really know what it was all about. We were just hoping to see if this testing campaign gave us a clue of what they are all about. One of the guesses that we had was that it was related with purges of the engines. And the reason for that is that one of the things that Elon mentioned a while ago is that there are leaks on the engines. And some of these leaks can be contained, but there are others that it's like, look, we cannot really do anything. Like, things leak just by, like, the rate of leaking is never exactly zero, right? That's sort of the actual practical reasoning here, that things leak because there's always somewhere for things to go. And one of the problems that they had, especially in very early flights, is that these leaks eventually led to fires. And one of the things that he wanted to improve was purging the engine section. And you might remember that this booster sports a new engine shield. And that new engine shield might actually be such a way that each engine is not only contained, but also their leaks are contained.
Neat. Yeah,
And what I'm
that makes
thinking
sense.
is that this is for that, for everything to let it all out, and like if there are purges on these engine sections and things like that, they can purge it all out. I don't really know though. It's just a pure guess, but
Huh. Well, thank you for that. I mean, we do speculate a lot here, but that's just how we talk through things and learn. And I do just, as a side note, I really have to say, Booster 9 is looking so great compared to Booster 7. We have all 4 chines as big chines, no big chines, no little chines. It's all big chines, baby. So Booster 9 is looking
one
great.
thing that I do really like a lot here. Can you see the chines on the sides? They are like a little bit crumply on
Yep.
where that's the contraction of the metal. Because if you look back on the
you can
stream, those were
see-
not there.
You can see them happening in real time as we watch
Yeah.
the boosters. So if y'all are just tuning in, here's what's going on. We are seeing Booster 9 get loaded with cryogenic propellants in anticipation of what we expect to be a spin prime test today. What is a spin prime? That is where you flow those propellants through the engines and do everything of every part of engine startup except for essentially igniting the propellants. So that is a spin prime test. Today we are expecting a spin prime test, not a static fire. That is because there has been no overpressure notice delivered to Mary in the village, so we are not expecting a static fire today. There's also been no marine safety notices. There's a variety of other factors that we track when we are trying to determine what sort of testing they are going to do. So today, based on everything that we've seen, we're hoping for a spin prime test of Booster 9. We do not know how many engines. I am kind of leaning towards 33 engines, but who knows what SpaceX will end up doing. Who knows if there'll be any engines that abort last minute or are closed out and not included in the test for whatever reason. But that is what we're looking at. You are currently looking at the liquid oxygen tank on Booster 9, which is the lower of the 2 tanks. The top tank is the liquid methane tank, and I am not sure if that tank is frosty or not at this point, but typically what we'll see is SpaceX load at least partially the liquid oxygen tank first, because if you're a long-term enough tank watcher, you remember, as we talked about earlier, Starship SN3, which was a early Starship prototype that had a testing flow issue where they actually emptied the liquid oxygen tank before emptying the methane tank, which is again up top, and that additional weight of the methane on top of the empty liquid oxygen tank caused what we nostalgically refer to as the crumple pop of SN3. So that's what we're looking at.
It's a technical term.
Yeah, it's rocket science. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's a little bit wordy, kind of, but yeah, crumple pop. That's what we saw with SN3. So that's the state of play. That's what we're looking at.
Oh, look at that.
And it looks like, go ahead, Alex.
A chill pit. It's being used.
Hey.
Look at that. It's on the bottom left where it says Starbase, Texas. You can see a lot of venting on top. That is the engine chill pit.
I wish I had a chill pit.
There you go. Or a chili pit. That is probably not as good. Yeah, but I will use some of that with nachos.
I have been prohibited from eating spicy food on stream, so anyway.
Didn't you lose your voice almost at one time?
I almost died.
Yes, I remember vividly.
Pro tip: do not eat extra spicy, hot fried chicken on stream. Anyways, let's talk about the booster and let's do more questions from our viewers. Don't forget, if you have any questions, at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we will see your questions pop up and potentially answer them. Adrian, go ahead.
No, I was about to make a stupid joke. Let's focus on the questions.
Cool deal. Let's see here. Corona Blitz is asking, what are our thoughts on the center point of the water deluge? Is it a potential weak point? I don't think so. I don't really think so. I mean, I get why people are asking that. I've seen that question asked a very, very large amount of times. So it's a good question. I'm not saying it's not. But I just don't get the vibe that that is an issue. And if anything, I mean, once again, we have seen SpaceX do dumb things in the past, or at least seemingly dumb things. I am immediately thinking of Booster 1, where they had to cut the bottom ring of Booster 1 off because the high bay was literally not big enough to fit it out the door while it was on an SPMT. Dumb thing, like, they do dumb things sometimes. They also do incredibly smart things most of the time. And I'd like to think that the engineers at SpaceX that were responsible for that water deluge plate are smart enough that that center is not an issue.
Also, keep in mind that there's not an engine in the center, right? You have the center 3, so there shouldn't be any flamey bit over that anyway.
Yeah, precisely on the center there's not a lot of engines. It's actually on the outside, so it makes sense.
Yeah, both of you. I like. Oh, I'm dropping things. I like the way that you're thinking. Hang on, somebody else talk.
Uh-oh. I'm wondering. I'm kind of wondering what he just dropped. Like, it's always so curious. We can see, by the way, the frost ring. Yeah, maybe. We can see the frost ring still rising. This is still not where we expect it to stop, probably. We are also... So, there might be some methane at some point in this upper tank. The question is just if we will be able to see it, because they usually load it very low, and it might not even leave the common bulkhead area.
Ooh,
so there's
hold
an
on.
area... Ooh.
The oil vent came back, so propellant load, at least the liquid oxygen load, should have wrapped up. So that frost should not increase from here.
So we could be relatively close to
the
whatever.
test.
Yes,
exactly. I was just about to say, this is a little bit more liquid oxygen than we saw loaded on the booster for Booster 7 spin prime test. So,
so maybe this might be it.
Yeah.
Thank you
I just
for that,
went
Trevor.
back and I was just going back and looking at the most recent Booster 7 spin prime test because I could not remember how much they had loaded.
That's extremely helpful. Thank you for doing that. It's one of those things where we have all of this data accumulated, but if nobody parses it, we're not able to draw conclusions from it. So that's very, very helpful. Thank you. All right. Well, now we are hoping to see a spin prime. Let's do this. Let's get this engine loadout on Booster 9 checked out and move into a static fire campaign in the coming days. Again, we're not expecting to see a static fire today, but we are expecting a static fire pretty soon after this. I mean, this is the remaining step before a static fire of Booster 9 will happen. So we want to see today's test go well, and hopefully we'll see today's test happen pretty soon here. The next thing we're going to look out for is the FireX system starting up, and when you see that mist start up right there below the orbital launch mount, be sure to watch closely. And we'll all, of course, shut up so we can hear the cool sound of the spin prime. But I also do want to mention really quickly, I don't know if you saw that new merch, but we have new merch. When Adrian was testing it out, and we were joking about that a few minutes ago. It's an awesome retro design. Pauline did it. It's amazing. And just go check it out. I'm not going to talk about it very long right now, but I love it. It's amazing. This is one of my favorite designs we've put out in a long time. So check it out. Head on over to shop.NASASpaceflight.com. And if you like that new retro t-shirt design, it's also available on a mug and other variety of things. You can get that design on. Anyways, spin prime, am I right? Let's see this. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, this is always exciting because we just don't know when it will happen. It could be any minute. It's really, we just wait for the FireX to spool up, and from FireX to spin prime, we just probably have seconds. And yeah, I mean, at this point, although the OLM vent stopped again, so we'll see what's happening here. Is the frost ring moving up again?
Oh,
did
maybe.
the OLM vent stop? Because
I kind of
they resumed.
Yeah,
That's sort of my rule of thumb is that if the OLM vent is present, there's nothing moving into or out of the booster.
Yeah, it
'Cause
stopped.
it means
so
they're-
it's moving in again.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fueling
loading.
again. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oops! False
Interesting.
alarm. As you mentioned before, Jack, they
Yeah,
like to
sometimes-
troll us.
Sometimes they stop that vent. I mean, you got to figure there's a variety of sensors and a large amount of data that they're tracking, and a variety of reasons why they would pause propellant loading briefly and then restart it. So, yeah, we will continue to watch for that FireX. We will continue to watch for that vent to start up again, and we will continue to answer your questions. Adrian, do you mind if I throw hosting duties back over to you for a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So then I will take over some questions here while we wait for the ULM event just started again. It feels like it's always the opposite of what we expect to happen will happen here. So man, I'm so sad we won't see a spin prime in the next 5 seconds. Okay, shit, sad. It was worth a try. Let's see.
Was it though? Was it?
I mean, I think it was a. I think it was a fair try, right? But I think it never worked. Like, we often try to jinx it using our commentator power because commentator have special anti-jinxing powers. But yeah, I feel like if you try to use it, it's a power that you can't use. It's a power that just happens.
Despite that OLM vent stopping, I'm not seeing the oxygen level go up. Like, I'm
Yeah, I'm
scrolling
not
back and
either.
forth. So maybe they just stopped. There's a little bit of a trickle there. That might be it. But I don't see it going up. So it might actually just stop altogether.
Yeah, it's a different situation, like from what we are used to see with these tests. So we'll see how this develops. And of course, there could always be other testing going on at this point. They could be holding. They could be looking at something. This doesn't strike me as a full going through vent of propellant stopping. It could just be that the line is empty at this point. Like, they maybe stop venting because the line is empty. So we'll see. But yeah, at this point, we just don't know when the spin prime will happen, and we should still stand by because this is a bit of a new territory here, and we of course don't want to miss it. That could be. It could happen
definitely
any moment.
Yeah, it's definitely within minutes. Obviously, maybe single-digit minutes or maybe double-digit minutes. We don't really know, but it's close. I can see some small venting there a little bit from the engine section underneath of the booster, but yeah,
that's
not a lot.
There's always this Raptor puffing we get once the engines are chilled, where you can see like 1 or 2 engines, something's puffing, and it's always a good sign that this booster is very much primed and ready to spin prime soon. I mean, we hope that. We didn't get any official confirmation of a spin prime test. It's just based on our experience and based on how these tests usually goes, and also based on indicators that were available to us, like missing signs of a static fire test. This very much seems like a spin prime test. Oh, is that the Fire X?
Huh. That was interesting.
Yeah. It's not really full force, it's just trickling.
Yeah, it was just like when you open the tap a little bit on your sink.
Yeah. I wonder what that was. That was for sure the Fire X sprinklers going on, but they didn't fully
It was very bizarre.
blow. Yeah, fully. Let's focus on this a lot right now, because it seems like there's something going on here. So again, if you're asking questions right now, chat, or if you're doing super chats right now, we want to focus on the action here right now. So that's why we are looking at this, because of course we don't want to miss anything. But yeah, that was, I never saw that before. Did we ever see such a Fire X moment?
I wonder
don't
if it was
remember
like an abort or something of the Fire X.
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know.
It almost looked like a board, right? It looked like spooling up and it instantly
Yeah.
shutting down.
Like, oh, nope.
Yep. Like a sensor reading being like, yeah, no. No.
Is that venting or condensation coming from the engines? Hard
Yes.
to s-
Yeah, it looked like it.
That's so bizarre. That was an interesting moment, for sure.
Yeah, it almost
Um,
looked like there was water, but not nitrogen. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's
It's
like-
total speculation.
And just to point it out again, how the FireX works is it's water, pressurized, and also infused with nitrogen. So you basically have both mixed. You have inert gas and you have water. So it's a lot. But not enough to suppress 33 Raptor engines
So what's
firing,
the
as we learned
difference?
before.
Between normal water and Topo Chico. See, now that Jack is not
It-
here again.
It's just basically it has bubbles. It's bubble water. We're just
Yeah,
with the
bubble
wrong
water.
bubbles because usually it's not nitrogen. So
Topo
Yeah.
Chico's the best sparkling water. Bye.
it's just European sparkling water.
No, it's
I'm
better.
Sorry.
No, it's better.
I will once you ever come to like mainland Europe, I will bring you our normal sparkling water. And you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's like Topo Chico. I will show it to you.
I've been to Europe. I've had sparkling water there. No sparkling water is as good as Topo Chico. This stream is not sponsored by Topo Chico. Let's talk about the booster.
Oh, there's some upstream venting coming in from the booster. That's
Yeah,
Oh.
there's that regular sort of little bit of a vent from the engine section of the booster.
I love how this shot always makes it seem like the tower is fully cladded, but it's just like the illusion. It's the illusion of, oh, this is fully cladded. Wow, they did really good job with this tower. And once you go like 10 centimeters up, it's like, nope, no cladding
Yeah.
anymore.
It also looks like they are new. Some of them are new, but some of them are just painted over. They are the bent, out of shape panels that they had for the first flight that were bent up basically, and they painted over them.
Also, the legs look so much better now that they've colored them. There, you can see, it's just that one side. But let's really... This is really like a cool view because it makes you... Like, you can see every
It's
detail,
literally
you see
cool.
everything.
Ooh,
There was some ice. That was ice.
I think that was the same as we saw before with the water, but just with the oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this...
I think it was the FireX, not oxygen, nitrogen, excuse me. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
FireX. And there we go. That was what looks to be a spin prime test of a lot of engines on Booster 9, the next designated booster to fly a Starship flight test. That looked like a lot of engines to me. I cannot say how many because the FireX makes it certainly hard to see, but that looked like a on point and normal spin prime to me. Any first impressions here?
No booms, yay!
No booms and no immediate depress from vehicle is always a good sign.
Hmm.
Yeah. But that was, I mean, the FireX, that's what you said before. That's why this FireX is here, to make sure that there's no boom. But yes, that's pretty much what we expected. Of course, we now wait for, hopefully, sometime SpaceX now has the tendency to tweet out these tests more. So let's hope they confirm to us that that this is a successful spin prime test. But from the initial impression, this looks like a nominal spin prime, which is what we wanted to see. So, I mean, the next up, the thing gets really exciting because next up is the static fire, right?
Yeah, it'll be... Also, we did finally get the answer to the question of will they use water deluge during a spin prime test? And the answer is no.
Yep, only FireX.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
Or
will
maybe
almost
they do the
certainly-
deluge later. See, maybe they do it later. Who knows?
True.
Yeah, I mean that we still should have to be careful here because this could not be the end of all for today. There could also be some other use of this road closure where they're like, okay, now it's clear. Just also test I don't know, the deluge system or the
Another
QDs.
spin prime,
Like,
maybe.
or yeah, another spin prime. You never
I do
know.
remember
but-
once they did multiple spin primes on the same window. It was hilarious because we were like, "Oh, they did the spin prime. Now they're gonna do the static fire," and then they did another spin prime. We're like, jeez.
Yeah. So this is they still have somewhere between 8 to 10 hours in the window still. And I'm saying that because there's some uncertainty about the window going to 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. Hello, Booster 9.
Did we lose Adrian?
No, I
They're not gonna hear
stopped
us.
talking.
Ah, okay.
They're not. Yeah, this is.
Okay, that was some depress venting. So this
Yeah.
might confirm now this testing is at least for the booster side wrapping up because there was some significant depress vent. So yeah. Thanks, Booster 9, for making sure we are aware you're still here. This is the second time I have today heard very loud venting. So yeah, what's going on here now? Let's talk about this depress venting. Alex, do we expect at this point that they will like what's next for this vehicle?
Well, now that they have completed these spin prime, Jesus, I'm having all of the noises here, and so it's really complicated to concentrate. But yeah, the venting here that we saw, as you mentioned, is for the depress vent of the vehicle to save it. The OLM vent has returned as well. So yeah, we're probably gonna see that detanking on the vehicle, and then after that, preparations for the next test, which we expect to be a static fire test. Hopefully not as loud as that venting. We'll see.
Yeah, that was certainly some loud venting. But from the initial impression, everything again, we just saw Sprint Prime just minutes ago, and from what we saw, it looks to be good. Like it looks to be a good spin prime based on we can just look at this and see a giant cloud. So we are not definitely in a position to make like a data point here. And just to point it out again, because I saw people being excited about the EOLM vent stopping again. That's quite normal. Once we are in this detanking area, the OLM vent will start and stop again and start and stop, and it's basically not interesting at this point anymore. And also, the tank farm is still doing duty. You still have a situation where the tank farm will recondense materials, where everything is still like that tank farm is still working.
You can see the recondenser venting actually there. On the two little tanks on the right hand side from the OLM, you can see there's like a little pipe sticking up. That is the vent from the recondenser, the methane recondenser at the overall tank farm. But yeah, now the OLM vent stopping, what it actually means is there's liquid oxygen flowing, but on the other way, basically from the booster down to the to the ground tanks. Boy, that venting just knocked me out. It was very loud.
Yeah, that was some loud venting.
like we were talking about earlier, and I don't want to jinx it, it is remarkable how smoothly this testing is going so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Now they're gonna
yet
remove
like
5 engines or something, probably. Just because you said
yeah,
that.
like you
Yeah,
jinxed it.
probably.
But like, can you guys think about any issues so far in the B9 Ship 25 campaign where it seems like there was even a refuel or something? Like, it's so far everything is just going very flawlessly. Like,
Thought they had an abort once, for Ship 25 spin prime or static fire, but
yeah,
I could be
That-
wrong. I'm probably wrong.
it's, that might be the only thing. But it's crazy how flawless they are in this campaign. They're really organized right now. And I mean, with this now in the books, we are maybe just 2 more tests away from this vehicle launching. And I think at this point it might even be the case that we will not see Booster 9 leaving the orbital launch mount. Like, it will leave it one more time, and that's at launch. I think that's a fair statement to make at this point, right? That this booster is just leaving this for launch.
I mean, we
I
mentioned
think
before. Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead,
Troy.
Al. I was just gonna say, I think they'll remove the booster from the pad to install the hot staging ring, but that's total speculation on my part, so.
Yeah, I will disagree on that only because we've seen the chopsticks already configured for ship lifting, which means that the next thing that they're gonna lift is probably Ship 25, and if that happens, Ship 25 will have to be lifted onto the booster with the hot stage ring. So basically, the hot stage ring will already have to be there by then. So that's what I'm thinking.
I mean,
I
it would
just
be an
don't
interesting
see-
mechanic, right? Like attaching it to the ship and then lifting it with that and attaching it like that. That would be an interesting way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
it
it
will be
just needs
interesting
brain.
because I don't really see them installing the hot staging ring on the pad, but like Alex said, the evidence does point to that.
Also, the one thing that we've learned from this test article that is at Massey's is that apparently they are the hot stage ring is not welded together. Like it just uses the same pins that the ship uses for connected to the booster. So it can be just as easy as just lifting it with a crane and try to adjust it, just like we saw for the full stack that we saw, 2 years ago in 2021 with a crane. But instead of being a whole ship, it's just that little ring. It's just a single ring. It's not really a huge deal for this kind of crane. Like we've seen it actually lifting worse things at that altitude. So I think it's doable. It's probably not a huge deal.
There's a question here that probably was answered already, but I will throw this to... let's start with Trevor here. What are the 20 new little pipes-looking things around the booster, bottom of the booster?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but I suspect they have something to do with recapturing and venting the in the engine section, each individual engine column, just to prevent methane buildup during flight. But Alex, do you know exactly what they're talking about?
Yeah, they mean that the sort of vents that are outside on the, like in between the chines, you can see a bunch of them. It's a good question. I do not think there are 20 though. I was actually trying to count it with some of the pictures that Jack took at the Rocket Garden when Booster 9 went out there. And we, at least when I was talking with Jax from the Ring Watchers, we counted less than 20. So that was one of the things that sort of threw me off, because we had also, like, we have that, or at least I have, I'm not sure if maybe they have changed their mind or something, probably. But there's like this thing of maybe them being related with like purges of the engine sections of these new shields they have installed, because maybe they are like more shield than with Booster 7. I don't know. It's a whole new thing though, and it also reminded me of a really old thing that Elon mentioned. Like, man, the ITS times, like 2016, 2017, when he mentioned that the booster could have thrusters on the bottom to adjust better the positioning. But I don't think that's needed for this kind of booster, though. Back then, that was just
Yeah.
because it was coming back to the mount. So it was like the amount of precision that it needed, it was like probably tenfold compared to landing on the chopsticks.
Yeah, I also want to hit a quick apology for the loud venting earlier, because it's always hard to balance the sound. It's always there's also, you want to make sure you hear everything and the venting going on, but that of course means once we hear things like static fires or like loud venting, that the microphones might be a bit too loud. It's always a balance we are trying to hit here. So we apologize for the loud venting earlier. It's not something we did on purpose. It's just something that happens if you have a wide range of audio volume levels here. So thanks thanks for the people. I saw some people being angry about that, and we are very sorry. We're trying our best here.
I mean, if we knew, we're
Um,
not doing it on purpose. If we knew, we wouldn't do it, right?
Yes.
It was an accident, so it won't happen.
Yes. So, let's see if we have some more questions here. And also we can see these vents we talked about earlier. You can see them below the frost ring. There you can see like the pipe openings, and I love how sophisticated the booster looks at this point. If you look at early boosters, they're like, it seems more like we need to attach this, so we slap it somewhere outside. It's more this KSP syndrome of like, hey, I need a battery. Here's space for a battery. Just put it there. And now everything is like really streamlined. Everything is hidden behind chimes. You have very distinguished places for vents, very clear lines. They're really hitting a stage in this booster design, which we saw for the ship a few years ago, actually, at this point, where the ship became more and more organized. And I think they're now getting to the phase of the booster where they understand how to make this organized as well. Any thoughts on that?
It is very much starting to look like, not operational vehicles yet, but less development, less prototype vehicles than especially Booster 4, Ship 20,
Yeah. Early Starship prototype. If you look, it's always the funniest thing, because there were people, including me, that really thought that MK1 would fly to 20 kilometers. And if you look at MK1 and look at Starships today, it's night and day. It's such a different vehicle, and it's crazy how SpaceX really slowly develop, or actually quickly develops this. Because in terms of rockets, we are actually not that, like, it's not that long in terms of rocket development that they take for this. Let's see. Do we have more questions? Wow, Raptor V3 asking here, is this the first time they have used the Fire X system while spin priming? I do believe that's not the case, right?
I actually looked it up before, like yesterday. I looked around, and I think this is the first one. Because, for example, for Booster 7, the few spin primes that they did were without it. They did do static fires with a spin prime, though. Oh, with a spin prime. Oh, jeez, with a Fire X. Sorry. But I do want to come back to that. Let's keep on going. But I want to talk about spin prime and static fire relationships.
I mean, that's the question. So go ahead. Go on that question.
Oh no, it was that when they tested Booster 7, they did a spin prime before the static fire, and the spin prime was the same engines as the static fire, the same number count and the same, like the actual same engines that they will fire. This one was a lot of engines that they spin prime. Do we think that the static fire is also going to be all of the engines? Because it did look like all of the engines. Like, let's be honest.
Yes.
It was a lot of engines, right? So we can probably say maybe it was all of them, or at least very close to all of them. We had that conversation before, right? And I think this test probably put another sort of added extra probability that is the case, that the next test is a static fire test of all the engines. We'll see, though. Yeah,
well, it's certainly something that that is always new. And you see how they iterate over these vehicles. And if you compare this to the Booster 7 test campaign, it's night and day. Because the Booster 7 test campaign was, what, a year?
Yeah.
I think it was a year, right? Like, from the first to the last test of Booster 7, we were talking about almost a year of cadence. And this will be, I don't know, 4 weeks? 6 weeks? Something like that? Maybe?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite crazy. Also, what's quite crazy is the support we have receiving today, and I want to thank some people here. We have Melanie getting a lot from the store, and I'm just saying amazing coverage and commentary. I now plan my Port Aransas trips around launches, belts and the races, and rockets. Huzzah! I have no idea about the second part here, because I'm culturally uneducated, but also getting a full stack mousepad here, and getting, let me see, a Starbase Retro mousepad. That's one of the new merch that we just released. Enjoy that. A lot of mousepads here in this. And also, it was a big store order here, so I want to make sure we display these. And also getting some stickers. Edgar with Stormwatchers, awesome broadcast today, guys, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. We always say that we are also very, very gracious that you all watch us, because this would be incredibly boring without you all being here, asking questions, and just making sure that we have somebody to interact with. It's only fun if you share it with somebody. Z with a Red Team membership, thank you so much. Michael Cooper becoming a Capcom member. That gets you access to Discord, so make sure to check that out. Justin Wayne with a $10 super chat. Could the new long tank under Chine be nitrogen to actively purge the engine section in flight?
That's one of the theories that we have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some burning in the engine section of Flight 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was some fire, and so that might be a good reason to purge
Yeah,
it, like purge the area.
If you have a way to put out that fire while in flight, then you have more chances of getting there all the way to orbit. So, yeah. Because for those that don't know, what this question is about is that on Booster 7, they had these big chines on this side of the booster, but then on the other side, there were just little chines, like little versions, like mini-me's of these chines. And now, instead, they are completely, fully built out chines. And what we saw is that as they were preparing and processing Booster 9, they were also putting like what appeared to be like cylindrical tanks on it, on those new chines. And so those cylinders is what the comment is about. And as we mentioned, one of the leading theories is that it is to hold something like some inert gas to remove fires from the engine section.
Yeah, let's hope they have no fire in the second flight, because apparently a fire in your engine section can ruin your day.
It seems like there's been a lot of mitigations for not having CH4 buildup in general. I'm pretty sure Elon talked about that in one of the Twitter spaces, of some of the mitigations that they're going through to ensure that they don't lose engines in the same manner that they did on the first flight.
Absolutely. I mean, it's from the performance perspective, I would say lots looked good for the first flight. It's more about making sure your hardware is not breaking. It seems to be the issue. It doesn't seem like the engines, for example, gave up under like stress. It seems more the engines gave up under like burns and fires and like damage. And I feel like that's something they need to work on. And yeah, from like if they stop the vehicle from taking damage from itself, it seems like they can actually make this work, which again, it's quite impressive that we are talking about by far the biggest rocket of all time, and SpaceX is so far making it work. And
yeah,
once this works, this will change rocketry forever.
Yeah, this is one of the things of these rockets, right? That they have so many redundancies and a lot of fail safes. So yeah, it's good that they include this kind of thing.
Elisar here with a $5.44 super chat saying, just wanted to say that the OLM looks so beautiful after all the work they have done. Thanks NSF for bringing the best views and coverage. And also Elisar is also one of our people that runs our social media area with Facebook and Instagram, and I want to give a quick shout out, and that's totally just me wanting to give a shout out. I think we have very cool and very amazing curated Facebook and Instagram pages, so search us there. I think it's really we have a good quality page. So, just giving a quick shout out there. The team that runs that is really doing an amazing job. Rosal Boy becoming a Capcom member, make sure to check out our Discord. Frederick with a Storm message, visit Starbase about 2 months ago, so inspiring, just sat there reading a book. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Yeah, it's a strange and amazing place. And also enjoy your Artemis shirt that you just got. And the other hoodies
heavy.
and everything. Yes, the Falcon
We
Heavy
need
hoodie.
a-
I love that. It's so comfortable.
We need a super heavy version.
Oh, maybe. I just like a second text line. I like that.
add it to the list.
Yeah, it's coming to the endless list of things we want to do. Alf Thorsten saying, I hope I get to see Starship to the Moon and Mars. I have ALS, so they need to hurry. Greetings from Norway. Certainly, first off, I am 100% sure you will see that, and I wish you that you will see that, and I'm also glad you bought something from the store. I hope you enjoy the items, and that's where they did that. And also Christopher getting something from the new collection here, and thank you for that. They got him because he's a massive gamer, and also that's the reason I want to get some of that, or already got it, because I'm a massive gamer as well, so thanks for that. I got a question here that I want to address here, because Libin asking, when will the engines light up? And this is actually an interesting question, because if we can display the road closures, there might not be that much time until we see the engines lighting up, because there is 2 more road closures scheduled. We have the road closures scheduled on Sunday and on Monday. Both of these pending any other releases on of the overpressure notice, of the NOTMAR, and of the adjusted flight restriction, could mean we see static fire as early as Sunday, right, guys?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
of the very rare Boca Chica weekend road closures.
And by
Yeah, I
the way,
believe they have,
that
like-
table
Oh, good.
that table is displaying the wrong closure dates times for today. It's actually 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., not 8 a.m. to
Yes.
8 p.m. Sunday and Monday they are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but not today.
Yes. So we'll see. We'll see if they use Sunday's closure. But I mean, they have scheduled it, and there's also this suspicious break between the August 4th and August 6th, which makes me think they maybe want to have the day to inspect, and then use Sunday for static fire. Like that screams to me that pattern. Maybe it's just me, but that's just a very obvious gap in the road closure scheduling. Because in theory, they could also schedule a weekend closure on Saturday, if I recall correctly. But they choose to do it on Sunday. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
We
see
also
how
have
that goes.
a rollout closure. I think it is tomorrow, from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm not sure if it's there, right? It's there? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in 10 hours. It basically is in 10 hours
Oh,
from
it's
now.
today.
12
Okay.
hours. 12 hours, sorry.
Yeah, so tonight there's a rollout closure, which it is 3 hours in length. Usually those indicate that it's either something from Massey's or to Massey's. And I'm thinking that maybe Ship 28 is going to come back from Massey's. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that would also be awesome to see ship. Like we are very much expecting at this point, I think, Ship 28 to be the next designated flight candidate after Ship 25.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
third
also
flight.
something we are watching very closely, because it's the next. Most likely, we are of course just speculating, but it seems likely based on more and more indicators.
Yeah, yesterday, for example, they were cryogenic. They were doing a cryogenic proof testing of Ship 28, and people were like, "Oh, they're replacing Ship 25." It's like, no. This is the preparation for the third flight. You're seeing here now Booster 9 for the second flight, but they're also preparing for the third flight, obviously, because they're not just gonna be okay. We'll all concentrate only on the second flight when they can just already start with the testing for the third flight. Because why not?
There's another question here about B11 that I want to hit here, which is about the extra stringers on B11. So B11 has some extra reinforcements, if I recall correctly. And the question is, could be the extra stringers on B11 be a sign that it will be the first to have a payload?
I
Because more
doubt it
weight.
because the a payload's mass is such a small percentage of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, the ship and the fuel on board is so much more massive than a payload. So I don't know what those stringers are for, but I can't imagine that they would have to reinforce a booster to add a payload.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because as you mentioned, it is a very small fraction. To put numbers to that, even with the number of 150 tons to low Earth orbit, as Elon mentioned, that is like only 10% more mass, because the ship is about 1,200 in propellant, and then like about 100 tons of mass in dry mass. So yeah, it's like 1,300 tons plus 150. It's a little bit over 10% extra mass. It's not really a big deal. It's not a lot of mass.
Yeah, it's and also there will be significant change in the mass of these vehicles at this point anyway, because for sure these vehicles are not there yet in mass goals. Usually, first vehicles are never. That's just how rocketry works. You usually reinforce a bit more. You have a bit more safety margins at the beginning because you don't understand everything yet super well. So you want to make sure that you don't fail because of a structural problem. And down the line, vehicles usually get lighter. They get more confident in making some things a bit thinner. So there will also be some like this vehicle would not be able to hit Starship's aspired Leo targets. Usually, like I'm pretty sure it's more reinforced than later vehicles would be. So there's probably also that. Let's see. How do they keep propellants from boiling off? I mean, the booster has been sitting out in the sun for weeks, and that surely must get pretty hot, right? Okay, so let's explain like the whole process here. Why? When does actually propellant loading starting, and like how is the process, and why? How is boiling off in that? Trevor, you wanna give this a go?
Yeah, so I guess, first of all, they don't necessarily prevent propellant from boiling off, and that's the whole reason why we see venting from the tank farm. However, a quick overview of how the system works. So the large vertical tanks on the right, to the right of the booster, those make up those are the tanks that hold the liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen that gets loaded onto the booster. And then the CH4 tanks are horizontal elsewhere. And each one of those, at least the CH4 and the LOX, is recondensed via the recondenser, which you can see on the right. So what they do is they use liquid nitrogen to cool down the gaseous CH4 and oxygen to make it a liquid again and get pumped back into those tanks. But that, of course, means that that heat has to go somewhere, so you end up venting liquid nitrogen. So that's what the majority of that is. And then for the booster, right, they don't store propellant in the booster. It's stored in those tanks behind. So they just have to chill down the equipment to start, which is why we see the orbital launch mount venting for around an hour ahead of launch, or ahead of filling operations. So yeah, and then during these operations, from all of venting, they do have some boiling of propellant that they just have to replenish. So yeah, hopefully that's a good short overview.
Thank you for that. And I want to take a moment here to give spotlight to something we rushed before this, because we have amazing new merch that Pauline designed, and I think it deserves a proper introduction here. We have the Starbase retro design here in the style of very old video games. We now have it in the store on multiple articles on shop.nasaspaceflight.com. You can see it here on hoodies, on shirts, on everything, on mugs, even on mouse pads. Of course, on mouse pads, it's a retro design for your gaming needs. So yeah, I think it's an amazing design. It shows in a cool pixel way the Starbase status right now. It even has a small dot that is Mars, a small red one. That has become more and more our signature thing to include in some of the merch items. So look forward to that. If you like that, make sure to check out shop.nasaspaceflight.com for this. I really think it's a really cool design. And I want to point out that I was the first one to buy it because I was already in the publishing process to be like, hey, I can just buy this now to test it. So yeah, check out that. I hope you enjoy it, and make sure to leave a message if you did. Thank you so much for all the support today, and let's get to some more questions, I would say, right? Writer Wither asking, and it's a Falcon 9 question, so I have the right two people here. Is there much difference between grid fins on Starship and Falcon 9? Alex, go.
In the sense of how they work, or like all of the differences? 'Cause there's a lot of differences.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, first of all, they are on Starship, on Super Heavy, they are steel rather than titanium, because on Falcon 9 they are like these really big casts of titanium, and here it's so much bigger of a vehicle that you don't really have a way to actually make those of titanium. So it's actually steel what they use. It's also cheap. I think it is cheaper to use the steel. I haven't really looked it up, but I'm mostly sure that just because of the manufacturing techniques, it's easier with the steel than with titanium. Apart from that, they can be out when like they are already deployed during launch, which for the Falcon 9s they are not. They have actually a system to keep them in place and locked in during flight, and then this system locks out and just releases the grid fin. For Super Heavy, that system is out. Like best part is no part, and so it's like there's no logout system. There's no folding of the grid fins on Super Heavy. It's not a big deal because these grid fins are meant to work when the airflow is coming from the bottom of the booster rather from the top. So the top, you will see it's like flat, whereas on the bottom you'll see like these sort of teeth on the grid fins that is to catch better the air and have more aerodynamic control. That is a similar thing with the Falcon 9 grid fins that you can also see with those as well, that have like these little like triangle teeth on the bottom of the grid fins, precisely to take in better that incoming air from the bottom of the booster.
The teeth primarily help out during the transonic region, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I believe so.
If you look at some of the Falcon 9 V1.2 grid fins, the old aluminium ones were flat on the bottom and very simple looking compared to the new titanium ones.
There we go. A question about the hot staging ring here by Evan White. Do they have a hot staging ring for B9? The one at Massey's is for B11, right? Alex?
Well, no. Let's see. The label says booster 11 forward lead, whatever. Like that booster 11 is not for the hot stage ring. It's actually for the booster forward section that is located, that is used for this test. It is not booster 11. Booster 11 is completed. It is at the rocket garden. It is done. That booster section, that booster forward dome section, it is an old booster forward dome section that I was originally meant for booster 11, and it's not any of that. So I'm trying to let that clear, because one thing is what the label says, and then another thing is what it is actually being used for. there's lots and lots of parts around the site that eventually get repurposed, and they create new parts for the same vehicle. So in this case, Booster 11 got a new, different forward dome section, and it is already in the complete vehicle at the Rocket Garden. And no, we haven't really seen the actual hot stage ring for Booster 9. It may come out
There we
at
go.
some point.
Let's see more. That's an interesting thought experiment. Luke Clarkson saying, say if we get an overpressure notice today, could we potentially see a static fire? And I may just start with this. In theory, if we suddenly see a notice to mariners posted, a NOTAM raised, an overpressure notice, yeah, in theory. Practically, probably not, because you don't annoy a lot of people, and basically telling suddenly every mariner and like every person that maybe wanted to fly over this area, hey, by the way, this is closed now in an hour, is not only annoying but also not practical. You need to clear the marine space. You would need to clear a lot of ground. You would probably need to inform deputies and everybody for like extended closures. It's not a practical thing. In theory, yes. Practically, it will be the static fire is probably not earlier than Sunday, and we would expect the measurements for that being posted either late Friday or over the Saturday.
Yeah, and like Jack was saying earlier, I'm pretty sure for at least Booster 7's large engine number static fires, they also cleared or evacuated the village.
Yeah. The thing is, you need to load some propellants. You cannot just load the bottom. You need to at least have like some propellant level, and also a lot of oxygen level. So there is some danger to this test. It's certainly, after a flight, is probably the second or third most dangerous test that could happen at Starbase, next to a wet dress rehearsal of a full stack. It also, there's, to be fair, we are not like super deep experts into like marine and airspace law, so there could also be a deadline for it. We have seen airspace restrictions being posted very close to an event, though. That happened before, where they just suddenly pop up. So it's not unprecedented, but it's just not likely in a case here. So just to point that out here. Starbase Watcher asking, why does SLS take so long to fill with propellants, but Starship is bigger and takes 2 hours? Alex, why is there a difference in countdowns between SLS and Starship in duration?
Oh, because of the ways that they do the countdown. So the countdown for SLS is sort of the old style, where they don't even chill down the, like, because the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane here for Starship, they are super chilled propellants. And what that means is that instead of being at boiling point at their, I don't know, I think for the liquid oxygen it's something around negative 193 Celsius or something like that. Instead of being at the boiling point, they actually chill down more that propellant and be below that boiling point. Whereas for SLS, both the liquid hydrogen and the liquid oxygen are at boiling point. The way that they load is also different. I believe for the liquid hydrogen, it is used, they basically use pressure to load the liquid hydrogen, whereas for the liquid oxygen, they use pumps. So there's a whole thing there in the way that they actually load the SLS versus Starship. The reasoning why they need that fast flow on Starship, and also for Falcon 9, by the way, it's because of that chill down of the propellants, where if you wait a lot to load these propellants, then they basically increase their temperatures and then they go back to boiling point. The reason why they chill down these propellants is because you can fit more. Where, as the colder that the liquid gets, it's basically denser, and so you can fit more of them onto the same volume of tanks. And that is not the case for SLS. It is the case for Starship and Falcon 9, though. So you need to keep them cool.
Then I guess that's a pretty good answer to that question. Thank you a lot, Alex. Okay. let's tackle this one. It's just guesswork, but let's do it. How long till you think Starship will be launching on average once per week? Trevor,
Didn't
what
we
do you
that?
think? Which
Yeah, we
did
briefly
that?
discussed this earlier,
Yeah.
and the consensus
Ah,
was
okay.
several years.
I think you were out for the
Yeah, that
for
was the store thing.
yeah.
Yes, sorry,
Skipping
then I
that
missed that. I will skip that question. Connor Scott asking, how are we doing? Good. I like successful testing, and this looks to be a successful test, so good. Do we expect a deluge Ferrari for the spin prime? Well, we didn't, and it was there, so no. Let's see, some more questions. Do you think that ship 28 will have a payload? Like we talked about, if. Yeah, go ahead.
Go first, Trevor.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think that really depends on how Ship 25 flights goes. If they have a successful burn and everything, then I could see it happening, but because I'm pretty sure that the 28's the first ship that hasn't had its payload bay door welded shut yet. But I don't know. It seems unlikely to me.
Yeah, I think like my opinion is that it depends a lot on of course, the success of this flight. Because if they suddenly reach, I don't know, the complete goals, then maybe things change. But at least I'm of the opinion, I don't expect a fully successful Flight 2. I don't think they will get until splashdown. I think it would be a massive thing if they get until splashdown, and I just don't think it. By the way, hi, Ship 28.
That is Ship 28. That's messy. There we go. And now the messy cam.
Yep. Hi, Ship 28, just hiding there. I want to thank some more people here. Sirius becoming a flight engineer member. That's one of the highest level of support here. Thank you so much. That really means a lot to us, and it really helps us. Patrick with Stormagers here. Thank you for being you. Sincerely, one of the Starfleet tour guys, Patrick Kavanaugh. Thank you for being here and also getting something from the store, and that's the new design. Thank you a lot. Superstat, a regular and also a chat moderator of us, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you for that. Rough Riders, also an SPL operator and regular of us here. Gary the Grackle fan club, love this NSF team. With a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Gage here as well with a store message saying, great stream today, boys. Can't wait for OFT2. And that's the same for us as well. We hope to see OFT2 soon, I think. High Frequency Hertz with a $5 super chat. Thanks for all the excellent coverage. Thanks for being with us. And Nathan with a store message saying, thanks you all. And Nathan got a Texas Tank Watchers shirt. That's so nice. We really need to maybe update that at some point.
Add it to the list.
Look at it. Yeah. Mark with a store message saying, thanks for being awesome, folks. Thank you, Mark, for being here. I don't think it's our store, Mark. I'm not sure, though. Getting the concrete way to go shirt here in celebration of our truck getting hit by a rock.
Starbase Retro.
Yes. I'm glad you all enjoyed that new design. It's really cool. Asher Marco, love the coverage as always. What's your guess for the first IFT with payload on board? I think it will be the 4th one, and it will be in 2024. That's my prediction. Any other thoughts? Any quick input here?
Yeah, probably the 4th or the 5th flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
agree.
the overall consensus. And also clearing up here our backlog. Juliet with a store message. You guys are the background sounds of the future. And I thank you for that kind message. I'm glad you enjoy it. And also
That was getting
an NSF shirt.
Nice.
And Rudolph Branchies with a $10 super chat to hop on a recent trend. Do you know any microgravity metallurgy research on the ISS or otherwise? 0G protein crystal things. Wondering about metal and LK99 production issues. Alex, help!
I don't think they've gone to the point of producing LK99 on the ISS. It's too early for that. The LK99 is the superconductor. Well, the claim that it is a superconductor at room temperature and room pressure. But yeah, we'll see about that.
There we go. Okay. With that, I want to start to thank people here. Starting with Alex. Alex, thanks for being on the stream today with us.
It was an honor. It's always really great to share the time with you all. Really, I don't know. It's a nice time to be here in spaceflight and commentating and everything, and rambling about like I'm doing right now.
I mean, also sharing a lot of knowledge because you're certainly a very knowledgeable guy about this vehicle, so thank you a lot. And also very knowledgeable about this vehicle is Trevor. Trevor, thanks for being with us today here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you everybody for joining. We'll hopefully see you again for some static fire soon.
Yeah, as early as Sunday. And also thanks to Jack, who is no longer with us here on commentary, because I think he's already on its way probably to Boca again. So thanks, Jack, for being with us here earlier, as well as a commentator. And also deploying the cameras and everything. Like, that's also something that is always attached to this. It's not only commentary, it's also making sure that we, for example, get this amazing view, which I think we all liked. So thank you, Jack. And also, I want to thank Patrick Cahoon and the back channel, making sure we stay organized and everything looks good and everything. I know sometimes it can be a bit chaotic with us, so thank you a lot, Patrick, for making sure everything worked. Yes?
Can I do one last thing? Also, we're releasing This Week in Spaceflight in just a few hours, so look out for that on our channel.
Yes. Make sure to give that a watch if you want to be updated on everything regarding space.
It's the twist of the week.
Yes.
Anyways.
And I am Adrian Bile. I was your host for today's stream, and I enjoyed this a lot. Thanks you all for watching. We had a lot of questions today, a lot of very nice interactions, and I want to point out again, a lot of support. So thank you all so much for that. It really helps us and keeps us going. And with that, I will throw you all over to Starbase Live, where you can watch detanking and road opening. And with that, we are out for today. Thanks for watching again, and see you next time, maybe as early as Sunday.